Well, hello everyone and welcome back toward the end of this Mushoku Tensei read-through. Almost, I guess we still have one more discussion left, where we're covering volumes 22, 23, and 24 of the Mushoku Tensei light novel series, where I have read through the web novel for the first time, and I'm rereading through the light novel, for the first time here for these last few volumes. And I am joined by someone who is, I was going to say, only seen the anime, but he's read so much of the light novel by this point, so he's basically read the light novel. I'm joined by Jarkey Bacon.
I ain't no rookie no more. I ain't no scrub.
That is,
Ain't no Car Entertainment. I'm a
very
real
true.
man now.
It's night and day now between you and Kai Entertainment.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Now, some may say Ari is incredibly mean for going this far and including 24 on here because that was painful. I was like, hang on, wait, we have to stop here?
Yep.
Oh, oofy. But I was thinking about it as actually, you should probably recommend me like 2.5 for like up to this chapter because I do think it makes a lot of sense how you kind of set it out, because we kind of did start the final arc and we kind of got cut halfway through, but there's a lot of there's quite a cohesive stuff where I think what I said last time was we're done with Sophie, we're done with those characters, I made some point probably about like how it feels like we've kind of got to the end of some of the core cast. You haven't spent as much time on them, but I do like how we've gone back to it. We've gone back to the foundation and done some extra payoff and done some extra building. We spent some time on Cliff. We spent some time on Zenoba. Fantastic, right?
Yep.
We've got to spend some time on the wives, which was kind of like the core stuff. And I didn't really realize until it was happening. And then I was like, oh no, this is good. I'm glad we got some extra details here. I don't know. I think some were better than others, and some brought some new stuff, but the stuff that wasn't new was still satisfying. So it was good. It was good. And then we have lots of other little bits peppered in, so it's not too boring. Somebody saying, and oh boy, it's heating up.
Yeah, it truly is.
It's heating up big time.
Yep.
Dude, it's crazy.
Left.
It's going to be resolved in the next 2 volumes.
Yeah.
Oh, that doesn't feel right. What happened to my cube theory? Are they going to actually fight the man god? There's no way they fight like. Ooh. I mean, Mushoku Tensei like wraps up fast, but then I think he said this about my video when I was trying to predict the end of Vinland Saga, and you're like, dude, like I could view this ending in 4 chapters because it's happened before, or it could end in 50 chapters. They could go on for another arc kind of thing. And this is exactly how I feel. I'm just like, I mean, it does feel like a climax to a lot of things.
Interesting.
It has a lot of reveals, and I don't know, it's probably the right place to end it because it does feel like they're not gonna. If they try to go like a whole into the arc of this, like in terms of like scale for like a fight, it could be jumping the shark a bit because we do. I can't think of many pieces left that aren't being brought into this final fight. We kind of thing. So I mean, not to skip too far ahead, but we know Badigadi's involved. We know Ridger's back involved. That was a big question marks. Like those are some big strings to be still woven in, and then we've got the man god to fight. I guess the only other thing would be the Laplace. I was thinking, oh, what's happening here? We even had like the Nanahoshi stuff that was kind of dressed slightly. We'll have to see how that goes. I mean, maybe like that Nanahoshi stuff would be like an epilogue thing when like I don't know. We'll see. There's lots of stuff to talk about, but maybe we should get started from the beginning.
So, firstly, Bacon, I didn't even have to ask you what your overall thoughts are. Look at that, amazing.
Yeah, look at that. I've just hopped right in.
This is great.
There's too much. Yeah.
All right, let me say.
I'm getting warmed
up. My overall thoughts. I have to say, Bacon. So there was a lot of new stuff in this. Or at least there was a lot of new stuff that I did not remember whatsoever in the web novel. So maybe it's there and I just forgot. But my goodness, I have to say, particularly, I think volume 23, for instance, when they're getting the baptism stuff, they're exploring, like they meet Sarah again, and like all this stuff is completely.
Is that in 23?
I think so, right? I think it's all 23, and I don't remember none of that. No mention of the graves of like Philip and Hilda and all that. None of that. And I was like, this is amazing. I loved it. Volume 23, one of my favorites, just because it's so much new stuff that I think perfectly, brings all these things together and makes it feel much more conclusive, and we get more wrap-ups than we did in the original, and this is great. So basically 23.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like it gives back some fan service, but the fan service only works to benefit.
Yep.
Like it's interesting. It's like Soldat's back.
Yep.
Oh my word, this is amazing. This is exactly what like only Soldat could create that character moment, right?
Yes. It's
right? So that's
amazing.
where it feels purposeful. Um,
Yep.
yeah. Anyway, we'll get on to that stuff.
Yep.
That was good stuff.
All right.
Let, let's get on to the worst of the three. 22.
I do
Um,
actually. I don't even remember as a high level what happens in this one, but I guess we'll talk about it when we get through it.
so
But
what
yeah.
happens on the two levels, right? We have so it starts off. I'm doing your job here, mate.
Yes, please.
It
Yes.
starts off with they go to the King Dragon realm. Then we
Oh
get
yes.
introduced
Yes.
to like Doga and Chandelier, and then
True.
we have that time there, and then we go to Tofu's place and has the
Yes.
shenanigans there, and then we end off on the birth of
Yes, we
little
do.
Siegfried, whatever his name
Yes.
is,
Saladin.
Siggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a boy. Saladin. Nah, mate. That's not the real name. Screw that name.
Yep.
All the real homies know he's called Sig.
Absolutely. All right. Bacon, you reminded me when you said that about this being, the worst of the three, which let me just say
Oh, actually, I didn't even mention the best part about it as well. But
Oh.
we'll get to that. We'll get to that later
All
in
right.
my overview.
So Bacon, when I was reading the web novel and when I was thinking back on these light novel volumes, there was one volume that I remember thinking, you know what? Every other volume of Mushoku Tensei is like really good. Volume 22, not good. However, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know why I thought that. I actually, and I think it might have just been like a poor translation. I remember like struggling to understand what was happening in the King Dragon Kingdom, and I remember where I was when I was reading this, like the web novel, and it was so I don't know. It didn't really stand out to me, but now I like it. Generally 22, it was
yeah.
good.
I mean,
Anyway,
we're building up. I mean, we're building up, but what can I say? I mean, yeah, like I would say Atofe is hardly the most compelling character, but I think what's done with Atofe here, I think I preferred than her other stuff. But I would say like
this was funnier for sure.
the two, I don't know, they're glimpses. Like is I'm not this is it's like a 6 or 7 out of 10, right? It's still really good.
Yep.
And for folks listening, like, yeah, 6 and 7 out of 10 is good for me. It's not like a slice, it's not like a mouse score when I'm like, oh, 8.1 must be trash.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's not one of those scores. So yeah, it's still good, but it's not like yeah. I guess this stuff does lead to some cool stuff which leads to later. But yeah, we should start off. Okay, I'm just gonna I'm gonna make all my points before we actually get to them.
All right.
Okay, couple things. Maybe the first note is that Orsted gets mad at Rudy, calling him, asking to be called a dragon god. And what Dragon God Orsted says is, all of them live as they please, clinging to their tattered pride, then they die over petty grudges. And I think it's, this starts, it's mentioned so many times over the volumes, I don't have like the direct quotes, but it's Orsted's demeanor is getting read a lot more readily by Rudius as a humanizing force. And what I mean by that is that basically Orsted is basically seeming a lot like the impact of his prior lives and rounds or trips or whatever loops. That's the best way of putting it. Is showing more wear and tear on him. Before he's resilient, he doesn't care. He's apathetic. He feels like he doesn't really care if this loop doesn't work. But things made clear that Rudy's children really gets to him, even if Arus or whatever, the red Eris's kid doesn't like him, but like there's a lot of things and I think particularly is his relationship with Perugius. There seems to be something there. And I think this quote seems to fit Perugius quite well, because is Perugius a dragon god exactly, or
wait, Perugius would be considered the armored dragon king. He wouldn't be god.
Armored dragon king.
Yeah, the previous god we've heard of is European, who I think was fighting alongside Perugius.
But then Rudy's asked to be called a dragon god. So why would he be called a dragon god under Orsted?
Because he'd just use the name. It'd be like a name thing. Like we can have a more direct, like people would hear the reputation of the dragon god and be like, oh wow.
Yes. Well, I still feel like, of course I do think this applies to Orsted as well, because Orsted has been kind of always reflective, being like, they do as they please, cling to their tattered pride, and die over petty grudges. Like there's clearly a petty grudge, not petty grudge, but a grudge between the man god and Orsted. But I think it also applies to Laplace and Perugius. That's what I was thinking here. So I just thought that's an interesting quote.
Yeah,
and
so
I think,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I think it kind of also links the sadness here happens is that it's kind of like made very clear that Rudy's is pretty sure Rudy's interpretation um, is not mine. In an interesting way, it's like, oh, I have to kill the other dragon folk to get their weapons or whatever. So that's quite a big deal, and I guess that's probably also what weighs on Orsted is that he has to kill. Does he have to kill Perugius? Does Perugius have one of the weapons? I think he does, right?
That is an implication, yeah. That there's like the 5 dragon generals he has to take out to finally get to
generals,
the place. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of them's respawning, so that's why he hasn't gone for it yet.
Yep. So they're okay. Yeah, so for all this bacon, yeah, very interesting. I don't have any conclusive things I want to say at this point, but yeah, there's some interesting stuff going on here with Orsted for sure. What would I say? I guess Rudy does have a lot of theories, like you were saying, about how like, or maybe like, you know, he has probably has mixed feelings about what's going on here. You know, these dragon people there's very few of them in this world, obviously, and he will have to eventually kill them. Maybe he's putting distance between them, you know, so that he'll feel better killing them eventually. I don't know. He talks about how he doesn't want to ally with like Perugius specifically. He mentions that a few times. Oh, not Perugius, but like actually I think he does mention Perugius, where he's like, I don't want to specifically ally with them or anything. And it's a bit unclear. It's a bit difficult to read from Rudy, but he comes up with his theories. It's interesting. I think Orsted gets some of his most interesting stuff in these volumes, and this is part of it. And also what you were saying about reading his expression a bit better and like understanding him a bit better. I remember there was one point, I think it's later on, where he's like, he made a terrifying face, and I understood that this face is what the face he makes when he is ashamed of himself. And I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yes, I remember that quote. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And what was that when he didn't tell Rudy about Rudy's situation? Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that was a really interesting moment. I find this all. I think what I find interesting about it is that, like, as someone who doesn't read a ton, there's the way that nuance and subtlety is gotten across in this is not like something I've read before. I'm not saying it's like, oh, this is unbelievably unique or whatever, but it's more like when you're watching something, like, as you know, I was talking to a mate at work who really likes the Mushoku Tensei anime. I was like, it is I was trying to explain to him, it's a completely different experience because you have nothing objective, and there's a lot of, I mean, there is some third person stuff. I got a bit confused if there's like actually inside Eris's head, but it wasn't. It's just more like a third person view of her and Roxy, I think.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's getting past that interpretation, trying to make interpretation on the interpretation. There's other things said that are like small things. It's like, what is Ariel's deal with Rudy in general? Like, how is their dynamic? Like, you have to do some, because you never actually, have we ever had an Ariel chapter in her from her perspective? Maybe, but like, there's very little we get of her, right? And there's big scenes, like the scene with her like meeting Orsted for the first time is still not being built upon. But it's something that is like, you know, as a character is interesting. I feel like it's almost a bit too much leg room because I wasn't maybe paying enough attention. But I feel like maybe if I did come back and reread this in like 3 years, like so many of the small details, I'd be like, oh, that's so interesting to think about. So yeah. So you're probably on a good time now. Like, what I'm saying is that like I wouldn't dare make a character analysis really on any of these characters yet, and I don't think I'd be prepared to listen to it, like read this all again.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's a lot of, like, each volume takes at least 3 hours for me to read.
Yep.
Kind of thing. So that's actually let's see. So I mean that's just assuming I'm watching them on 2 times speed and we got 26. That's 80 hours. So.
It's a long time for an analysis.
Yeah.
But yep, very true. Mushoku Tensei, you know, a lot of perspectives. It's the best thing I think Mushoku Tensei does is give us different perspectives and not give us other perspectives. Kind of cool.
Yeah, the withholding makes it a lot more. But then it sometimes makes perspectives when you finally do get them not quite as much as you want. Rolling onto Lydia's perspective.
Oh, okay, wait, not yet. One more thing we have to talk about. But oh my god, you predicted that, Bacon. My goodness. Anyway, talking a little bit.
Segue.
No, one more thing about Orsted. So, firstly, we meet Orsted's receptionist. Pretty crazy. Oh my gosh, she's like never met him before, but she's just working at the little office building, and they communicate via writing, which I think is really cute. But more importantly, the reason I bring this up is that at the end of this interaction where Rudy is talking to this receptionist, he's firstly he doesn't remember her name and it's like, oh, what's her name? I'm just gonna pretend I know it. He's like, okay, you know what? If there's anything that ever troubles you and you need any help or anything, I will do whatever is in my power to help you. And then she like looks surprised at him and she's like, oh, it's funny you say that because not she doesn't say Orsted, but like the president or whatever. He said the same thing earlier, and it was like, oh, that's kind of we never see that kind of side of Orsted, interacting with other people, being so kind or whatever. But here we are, implicitly, he is tried to go out of his way to make this receptionist happy, and I was like, oh, that's really cute.
I think that's also to do with Rudy though, because Rudy has made multiple statements that he wants to keep this like a professional relationship. But that's almost like his anxiety and his Japanese culture and him like self almost getting that ahead of him.
Yeah,
and I think this is interesting because like you find certain quirks. There's some interesting things here, particularly with like how Rudy is Japanese and how he relates to it. But it's like because Rudy has shut down that gate, Orsted doesn't necessarily show it. So I'm not sure if it's necessarily like a Orsted issue. Like it's not Orsted showing it to him. It's the boundaries Rudy has set and Orsted respecting those boundaries. Which is interesting.
Yep, true. Very good point, Bacon. Anyway, Lilia point of view, Bacon. We got it. We finally see her perspective.
It was great, right? I always like Lilia point of view. I want to understand, but then it ended too early. This is the thing, right? I just said she cried. I think the biggest thing I got from this is that she says Lilia cries a lot, and that she didn't do that when she was younger. And she feels like she's crying a lot now because she's getting older.
That is a quote I have here. Okay, so she said, when that sank in, I couldn't stop crying. Lilia, Master Rudius said, I'm so sorry, Master Rudius. There wasn't a dry eye in the room, but I was the only one who'd buried my face in my hands and sobbed. I'd done nothing but cry recently. When I was young, I hardly ever shed tears. I didn't think any emotions had such hold on me. It could be another sign I was getting older. Aisha stroked my back and I wept, and when my tears finally subsided, Miss Zenith came and laid her hands on my head and set the sobs in motion once more. I was like, oh, Lilia. But true, in her old age, she's getting a bit more emotional.
Well, she's not even that old. She's probably like 40, right?
Yeah, but she's probably
people live like Claire's gonna live till like 60 to 70, right?
That is true.
She's got like 20, 30 years. She's good.
But she's the oldest person in that house. Okay. Yeah. So she's probably feeling a bit old.
I think it's interesting. I feel like Lily is it's just a character that all you need is a bit more explanation, but it's another one that if you reread this whole thing, you could probably make a pretty strong theory for like how her brain works. But she's just like someone needs to break down the mental barriers for like, please be human, don't be robots made. No one cares. No one cares. But then also another point later on with Lily actually is that Lucy perspective says that she's not good with children, which I thought was crazy. I thought it was a wild revelation that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, "What? How is she like just really?"
I actually don't remember this. Was this from the Norn point of view, like at the end?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like Lucy is like, I don't know how to interact with. Maybe it's because Lydia isn't. Yeah, she's not emotional. She's robot made.
I mean, I can imagine. She sees
the kid. It's like the kid's not crying. Kid doesn't need me. Like I'm not a nanny. I'm here to fix problems and whatever. But I think it's just interesting. And that's the thing. It's like the collective building of all those things where you could kind of make a semblance of like a 10-minute character review or like analysis, but it's like theory of how that character works. But you have to pick up on those lines because it's very easy to miss because I'm not the best reader. So
okay. So for this Lilia point of view, then let's see what notes I have. Bacon. She has finally come to accept it. That Rudy is not going to marry Aisha. She says it. She makes it clear. So now she talks about how she's been having these chats with the Lioneleyes, and one of the things that have come up is asking for advice on how to get Aisha to act like an adult and find someone for her to marry, which is kind of interesting. Because it's how do I even say it? It's great. It's well done, Lilia. You finally accepted. It's just not going to happen. Think, it's also
Wow. Okay, hold on a second. I was have you ever seen that like picture of like the werewolf like throwing off his clothes? It's like that was like me when I'm like, yes, no more Aisha Rudius.
Oh boy,
get ahead with this. I'm just like Jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get
Anyway,
something
no,
later,
actually, no.
don't we?
I make a meme of it on one of the early occasions. The later occasion, the big one, I'm actually that we'll get onto that. So I'm not trying to foreshadow my nitpicks.
Okay.
Um,
Yep. Lilia, she's talking to Elite. I think the
based.
the small details here are fun, where she's talking about like Elite, on the surface she's looking strong and everything, but she's spending so much time around the house, she's clearly lonely, and it's like, oh, okay. What
Yeah, I
else?
mean, yeah, there's a lot of things. Lies. I kind of wish Lies got integrated into that family more because she is Sylphie's grandmom. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you guys are close enough. I think it's also that like Lydia and Lies don't really have like a pre-established relationship, but I imagine they would bond over like Zenith's condition. I also think like Lilia having like a similar attitude to Claire, which is interesting. Like training her daughter for marriage or like trying to like help them, being worried about it. And I think it's interesting because it's the first time where you're seeing people more worried for Aisha than Norn. Everybody's like, nah, Norn's gonna find someone. Absolutely, she's got her groupie group.
Yeah.
She's got her club. Aisha not so much, which I think is interesting.
Yep.
But yeah,
It is funny to think about how like the Norn Aisha kind of relationship has swapped in a way, or like the way people view her. I'd never really thought about that. Like Norn is the one with a nice future path in life, and Aisha's the one without really much. I guess she has the corporation. That's like her big thing. But yeah,
well, that's what makes her the greatest character. I still not watched that video. I kind of assumed
that's
that.
good. That's good.
I'll have to
In the Norn video, there's a bunch of visual spoilers because I used every image of Norn I could find, including some stuff from I don't know later, I guess. But anyway, so I have one more line, okay, from this thing. I said it's crumbs, but I love this line because we barely get much. But I said I approve too, of course. I cannot be of much aid, I said, but I will ensure I do not become a hindrance to you. If not for the old injury to my knee, perhaps I could have spoken more confidently. The answer I gave was as much as my strength would allow. Which is, it's cool. Lilia thinking back to her knee, when she got injured with, I think it was when she was defending Ariel back in the day.
Yeah.
Cute. This would be a detail to easily forget when you're writing a character, but to just have Lilia constantly thinking about how, if only I didn't get injured back then, how, like, what could I have done differently for my role
Has
in this
Lilia
family?
had a scene with Ariel yet?
I don't think so. Not that I remember. Yeah, I guess we'll see if we get one.
See, like that's the juice. That's the juice.
It is.
Right? And Mushoku Tensei does a lot of good stuff, and particularly like in these in these roles, there is a lot of stuff where you're like, you need to squeeze, you need to pick the fruit, squeeze it out, and we get the juice, right? But there's some fruit that are never juiced.
It would be very interesting to go back, read all of the Ariel and Lilia. Well, I guess the Ariel scene specifically. See if she ever mentions like, "Oh, I remember this mage," back from.
No, she does. She does. She does. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I'm certain of that.
Yeah, and then we just need an interaction with them. It'll all be great, though. We'll see, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to get your play dolls, make them kiss, and by making kiss, I mean interact, right?
Yeah, but not Aisha and Rudy, right? That's not the way. We don't want them to kiss. But,
oh no, definitely that.
Okay, true.
That later part convinced me, Ari. It's all over.
I'm sure I did. That's good to hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I've done a 180.
All right. Well, one bigger thing in this Lilia point of view we didn't mention is I think this is great to do the family reveal of what happened to Zenith in Millis and do it from Lilia's perspective because obviously she's the one who's been looking after her. She gets the most emotional after this. I think it was very fun, not fun. It was very good to see it from her perspective to break the news. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
I was popping off when I ever see a character not that I don't like Rudy's perspective. We just get so much of it that I'm not like waiting for it. When I see character name in big bold text, I'm like, let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
God, there's some good chapter title. All right, there's one chapter title I'm thinking of later that's great. We'll get to that. Okay. Rudius vows not to have sex until Geese is defeated.
Yes,
because of women's fates being shaky during pregnancy. That is big. Gets referenced a few times. Yep.
A lot.
What a guy. How can Rudius, the great Rudius Grey Rat, how can he not have sex? That's pretty great.
He's fallen far, hasn't he, gentlemen?
Absolutely.
He's fallen far.
Could you imagine this at the beginning of the story? No way, impossible. But here we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually think, I thought this was really quite interesting. Just for like it's like a thing that makes perfect sense. Like you're like, okay, Rudius could do that, and you're like, can he do it? Can he actually do it? And it never feels like this is out of character for like Rudy, but he doesn't like It's like, what is it? Like there's like later on, like Atofe is topless, and then
Yep.
there's a joke about that. It's like, no, I'm set up. It's okay, right? But it's so it never
Yeah.
feels like, oh, out of character. We've ruined character assassination. Hashtag Attack on Titan chapter 139. Oh, it's the worst ever.
Yep.
That's a meme, folks. And yeah, it's never that. It feels very natural, but when you like take a step back, you're like, hold on a second. This is the guy that like couldn't wait.
Yep.
And then yeah,
So
and then spent
yeah.
a whole like volume like after married to Sylphie. It's like, yeah, and they banged again, and they did it again.
Yep.
Oh, next day they did it. It's like mentioned so much, and now it's just interesting. Yeah.
So it's interesting because on one hand, this is a big deal, like for Rudius as a character, to just see how much he loves his family and wives and how much he wants to keep it. He's gonna refrain from having sex, which was like his whole big thing. Now on the same hand, on the other hand, it is portrayed comedically. Like every time this is referenced, it is a funny thing of like, he makes some joke about how, I could be having sex right now, but I won't, or whatever. I'm the what's the word he uses? Rudius the something, I don't know. He says something. It's funny. But yeah, crazy. A Mushoku Tensei thing where a very serious thing is sometimes played for jokes, but in this case, I think it works well.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's interesting. I actually would be interested because you talked about the manga being like way more jokey or something. I think
I haven't read it, in fairness. That's what I hear. Though.
Yeah, what I'd be interested by is more, yeah, it's like how serious. Like it does feel like the idol stuff is very serious. Like it is mentioned every single time. But then yeah, this one is jokey. But then it's not. What is? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it is jokey, but it's more jokey for sure. But yeah, no, it's just interesting. Yeah. I shouldn't have said anything. I'm not really adding anything. I'm just yapping.
All right. No, Bacon, we have to yap. That's what we're here for. People love it. Okay. They see the nice long timestamp. They're like, oh, this is good. I have a lot of stuff to watch. All right. Next up, they head to the King Dragon Realm to recruit the Death God. And they also bring Zainoba, and I think they bring Julie and Ginger as well and everything. And
which is crazy. No, Ginger stays behind.
Oh, Ginger stays behind. Okay. Yeah. Well.
How about we bring Aisha as well?
Yes, we do in Eris. Now I remember there was the scene where they're like changing, and Eris is like, just, we want to, I want my sister to not embarrass me, wear something pretty. And I was like, oh, that's cute. We have very little interactions with these two people.
That was cool. I was just like, why do you waste a whole drawn page for this? I don't need this.
Oh, yes. True.
This is, I did not, I said the detail on the dress was very nice. Yeah. I'll give him that. But I was like, come on, folks.
Yep.
Oh, folks.
I think you're talking about the illustration with Eris and Aisha, right? Where Aisha's not wearing her clothing. I do have to say though, it was a crazy thing when because obviously I read through the web novel, the whole thing. I didn't have any illustrations because I didn't even know there were illustrations. Then at the end, I was going through all the illustrations and I saw this one from volume 22, and I was like, because in my mind, Aisha was still the tiny little girl from season 1 of the anime, and here she looks like an adult, right? And I was like, this is crazy. That's Aisha in my mind when I'm reading. I still think of her as this like 5-year-old kid, but she's like an actual adult now. It's like crazy. It was like I had a moment where I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Anyway, I didn't get any of these illustrations my first time through. All right, so. Randolph.
Listen now, Ari.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, there's actually so many good illustrations, especially to come. Oh my goodness, volume 26. Oh, so many good illustrations. We're getting there, Bacon.
Oh, dude, you can't be saying that.
Yeah.
You can come. Dude,
you'll understand, all right?
If we don't finish this in the next hour, which we're not, okay.
Yeah.
I can't get started. Yeah, anyway.
All right. Randolph. We meet Randolph. There's one note that I have specifically about meeting Randolph again. Which I think I probably should have mentioned last time, but I don't think we did, which is, Randolph's whole thing when he's fighting, at least from Orsted's perspective, is that it's very difficult to see his true intentions, when he says, when it looks like he should attack, he should probably defend, and so on and so forth. I do really like that it seems that is also the case in Randolph's conversations. You can never really tell what he's truly thinking. Rudius all the time is like getting kind of tricked into thinking that the way Randolph wants him to think. And at the end, Rudius is always like, I think this is what he always wanted. And he always had the upper foot. And I'm like, oh, this is great. And in this particular case, what are they talking about? I think they're talking about whether to Randolph is going to join Rudy in his like quest against Laplace, and whether he's going to help Little Pax, yes, and Benedict and all that. And initially, Randolph is like, what is it? It's like Randolph is saying that he like can't help, and it's like he's got his duty here or whatever, and Rudy is like, oh, I understand, let me help out, and then he reveals that, oh my gosh, he just probably wanted that all along, and it all worked out his way. And I don't know, it's like small details in this chapter that you can find, but Randolph, the Death God, never seeing his true intentions, even in conversation, is pretty cool. Yep.
Yeah, but then I also always wonder if it's just Rudy Cope. He's just like
that is also possible. He's being a bit
just
too
running around in
convoluted.
circles.
Yep.
Okay, this is one of my questions. I was going to ask you this question, like, what is Randolph's deal? Randolph's deal. But anyway, you kind of just answered it for me that we don't really know, which is fine.
I mean, my interpretation is he's just very straightforward. He liked PAX, he liked his cooking. Here he is defending Benedict. That's all it is, I'm sure. But there could be more to it. Yep. We do meet we hear about his predecessor, which is pretty crazy. Later on. Anyway, I guess I don't really have much on this initial meeting with Randolph and stuff. We have more about the King Dragon Kingdom later, but anything here for this early stuff? We don't have any Julie stuff yet or anything like that. That's all later. Nothing, Bacon?
No, nothing.
All right.
I mean, sorry. I mean, like with these characters, because they come up again, like it's interesting. Like a Benedict, Lil Pax, my boy. But I'm not gonna be out here being like, man, there's some real deep stuff. Or there probably is, but yeah, this is a bit of like an excursion.
A fun excursion. A lot of excursions in this these few volumes, collecting people all around the world. Next up, we go to the Azura Kingdom. At least that's my next note here. Where
all right, I just realized I got scammed.
Oh no! In what way?
Okay, so guys, you're gonna listen to this ramble.
Oh.
Okay. I just noticed in my bottom, I've not activated my Windows yet, but I own Windows.
Okay.
I changed out my GPU, and I spent 6 bloody hours trying to get past all my crappy config. And all my mates at work like, hey man, you just got to bite the bullet and reinstall. And maybe I should do on the weekend. Maybe that's what I'll do. Reinstall Windows. Duh. But
unbelievable.
Yeah, basically my hard, I don't know, it's all melted. It's all mugged off.
And to top it all off, now you have to activate Windows. What a shame.
Yeah, that was gonna really bug me.
Yep.
Oh,
just
I didn't notice. No, that wasn't on it last time.
Yeah, it just happens.
Like it opened.
Yeah,
I'm getting mugs. I bought this with my hard-earned cash, aka my dad's money, because this was when I was a kid. I think this is the same Windows update we had.
That's
when
pretty
I was
crazy. Bacon.
Anyway,
but great.
No. So when in Windows 7, I've upgraded it from Windows 7.
Oh yes, of course, yes. Anyway, Bacon, yes. They go into Azura, and they meet Doga. Sorry, Doga the doorkeeper. A very simple giant man who won't let Rudius through. And he's like, I can only let Sylphie and Sylphie's husband through, but he won't identify Rudy here. Doga's cool. We haven't got, I was going to say we haven't got that much of him, but I think we've got like a decent amount of him now. Straightforward, strong. That's basically it.
Fire Emblem-esque character.
If you say so,
yeah. I mean, yeah, no, he's cutie. He's a cutie boy. No, don't pause. That's what he sounds like to me.
Yeah, that is true. That is exactly how it sounds like.
I imagine, like, actually when he's moving, he's kind of like an iron golem. He's just like, but he like hit people with both his arms going up. And when like Rudy's trying to, I like the image of him like really trying to shuffle past him. Like, I just imagine they're just doing like sideways shuffles, like. Anyway, guys, I write the script for you. Yeah, good fun. And then you have the whole aerial scene.
Yeah, which it's so good, in my opinion, at least, to have a solo, just Ariel and Rudy talking together. I feel like, for some reason, this is very rare. I know we got it back in volume 17, for instance, but it's great. They're very jokey and very flirty, and they're just talking. And everything's a joke and nothing's a joke, and it's great. I like it when these two talk together.
There's just a lot of subtext. I'm just like, this is like, what is Ariel's deal?
Yep.
Marry someone, woman. And then later it kind of builds upon that. But anyway, it's kind of like, anyway, that was also sad. That was probably the saddest one later on. Anyway.
Back then. Okay, yes.
That was crazy. Anyway. But yeah, this is like, think about it. It kind of all sets it up. So in that scene, we start off with, I think it was Sarah. There we go. I was going to call her Anna, but that's not right. Sarah. Then we have, do we have Ariel next?
I have a list here. Do you want me to go through it? No, it's not Ariel next. It's Linnea is next, apparently.
Oh yeah, it's Linnea. Yeah. Linnea's not in this as much. Okay, I was going to make a point that like all these characters come up in these volumes.
Well, Linnea was the big turning point three things.
Yes, yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it like structurally within like the more recent, I feel like this scene is like a prep scene for that later one, you know?
Yeah, sure.
Like they're also in like royal chambers and all this stuff where you're like, oh, that's interesting. So
yep.
Anyway,
all right. Yeah, they have their conversation. Doga bursts in at some point, but Eris like, it's okay, don't come in. And then Rudy's like, don't punish him, you know. But after the big thing here, we can talk about it now finally. So at the end of this, Rudy leaves the room and there's some golden knights outside, okay? There's Ghislaine, of course. Ghislaine is there in her big golden armor, which is she's wearing as minimal as possible is the way I think Rudy describes it. And she says
which
that
is dumb. She should have been cool and be in all the armor.
Oh,
because
don't
that
worry,
armor's sick as
she is. Yeah.
Guess what? Yeah, she's just got her legs and arms covered. That's all she's got.
Do we get an illustration? Have you seen the?
No, I don't think so.
Right.
No,
I know eventually there is some illustration we get of it. I do remember it.
Okay, please don't make it like, hey guys, here's the cleavage hole to plunge right through my heart. Like, please do it. I will kill some anime
you know what?
fans.
We have to remember to bring this up when we see the illustration. I wonder what you think about it. All right.
Dude,
Yep.
I'm not gonna let it go.
Yep. No, this is your big thing, you know. One day, I'm sure you'll make a video about it one day, Bacon. You know. Anyway.
Well, I don't have much to say apart from
I know.
I am a Puritan at heart, and I watch anime, which is like a complete contradiction. And I'm getting mad that their culture ain't following my culture.
Yep.
Not in my. But it's also it's one of those things. Yeah, just it triggers me slightly.
Yep. No, I understand.
I'm just like,
but
that's how it goes.
More importantly,
I think it's just it's just all everywhere. If it wasn't everywhere, it's okay. It's just absolutely.
That is true. It's not everywhere. What about Isolde wearing her giant suit of armor? That
No. I mean, in like things in general.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
It's like a consistent trip.
Yep. All right.
Anyway, okay, here we go. We get introduced to a black-haired dude. And
Absolutely.
I know I'm wrong now, but I was convinced. I was like, I'm ahead of the game. I was like, ooh, I wonder if Jarkey knows who this guy is.
That's what I was going to say.
I know who he is now, boys. It's Chandelier, boys. He's the evil guy. I'm like, not the evil guy.
Who is he? Wait, what?
I have no clue who he. I have no clue who he actually is. But I thought he was the snow wyvern dragon guy that Geese was talking to.
Interesting. So that's your theory.
I was like, okay, no, I don't think he isn't anymore.
Oh, when you were reading here, you thought that Chandle was
when I got to this point.
the swordsman from last time.
Yeah, because the guy was like, I'm not going to tell you my name.
Yes.
And they have dark hair. I didn't realize, like, if I saw the illustration very clearly, they're not the same person because that's Chandelier has like curly hair. I've been racking my head, and by racking my head, I mean I like thought about it for like maybe like 30 seconds, and I could not figure out who this guy is. I like piecing together, and it was like, "Oh, teehee, you should know who he is, Rudy."
There is a build up to this. Yeah. I mean, it is. Okay. I'm kind of surprised how much of a build up there is for this. I didn't think that there was. It's great to see this though. You know, because initially,
should I have got it? Should I have got it? Like give me like a like when you're reading this, it's like Bacon has like a how % chance of getting this right? Like,
I think you, maybe like a 5%. Like I had no idea when I was going through. I can tell you that for sure. And I feel like I feel like even if you're paying close attention to me, I guess there's one more thing I should say. You know what? Should I give you? It's not a hint. It's like there was a different translation for his name in the web novel versus here. Do you want to know that? I don't know if it would help you out.
Yeah, sure. Go, okay, I'm gonna figure it out right now.
Maybe.
Pay yourself.
I don't. You know what? This bumps your chance up, I guess, from like 5% to like 20%. Okay, I think.
No way. Okay.
Yeah, but
Jeez, so okay, this is a lot of pride on the line now. Okay, I gotta figure this out.
Yeah. So in this, his name is Chandle, right? In the light novel, that's the way they do it. The original translation in the web novel is Sandor. Okay, which is another character's name we get later on as well, which is probably why they changed this to Chandle instead. But yeah, Sandor. I don't know if that helps at all. But yep, I'm just gonna wait right here until Bacon figures it out.
That does not help me. That does not
all right,
help me
that's
one
okay.
bit. But
you'll know in retrospect. Okay. You'll be like, oh, that makes sense. Okay.
No, okay. Initially, I was like, oh, is this like? I was like, oh, is this the other Japanese boy that supposedly got teleported like in the future? But then Ariel was like, oh no, you should know. Oh, you don't know who he is. So I feel like has to be related to Ariel somehow.
I mean,
right?
Orsted also pointed out he recognized him immediately and was like, oh, you can go with him. So with his, Orsted knows him too.
But Orsted knows everybody. That is
true.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that gives me much to go with, but if like Ariel knows him,
yep.
I mean, he's got the golden armor, but it's like it's kind of like made a meme that's like, oh, they're like the golden knight Adebran, but no, we got that figured out
Oh,
later.
we did.
Later,
Oh my goodness, Bacon.
yes. And then, all right, I'm gonna have to prepare
That's
yourself,
okay.
guys. We're not moving on to volume 3 and 23 in this recording. Hang on 1 second. Let me think a bit more. Go through the different places. Who could it be? No.
I truly think the name it's the only thing that could really help you. I don't even know how else you could I mean you could probably
Chandle.
You can make a guess based on something. The trajectory.
I mean, if Ariel knows him, is he one of the guys that kidnapped Eris when they were younger? I don't know.
Wouldn't that be something? Oh my goodness.
Is he the Pax's the 13th son of Chiron, the Prince of Chiron's uncle? I don't know.
It could be.
Is he Nina's other ancestral relationship? I don't know.
Is he the man god incarnate? Is this the true the man god? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, is he the big MG? Hence why Orsted was like, dude, you have to go with him. He's my buddy.
All right.
It's not one of their mates they met on the Bugatti continent, Garrett continent.
Yes.
It's not one of those guys. I don't know. Yeah, I have no clue.
That's okay.
Who could it be?
This will just make it more interesting when you get the reveal.
How big? Is it like this guy blew a trumpet at like her opening ceremony? Or is it like is it like he had a chat with Rudy before?
I would say when they say who it is, you'll be like, oh yeah, okay. Like I recognize this character. I recognize the name.
But you're not gonna be
like you won't be like, who is this? Like, am I meant to know? Am I meant to remember this person? I don't think you're gonna be like that.
It could be like it could be like the fighting god or the technique god or one of those boys, right? Like, I mean, to be fair, Rudy didn't really assume like his fighting prowess is that good. I don't know. Maybe it's James. I don't know. Whatever. It could be anybody.
James?
So, do you know? Oh well, I don't mean to lecture you on Mushoku Tensei, but everybody knows James.
Oh, in real life, yes, of course. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't?
No, James. James.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Do you not know James?
Is this another Karen joke that I'm not understanding? I don't.
No. No, James. It's James. He's the head of the Boreas Graves now, right?
Oh, that James. Okay. Yes. Thank you, Bacon.
Yeah,
okay.
The only James from Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah, I didn't know you were making Mushoku Tensei reference. This is crazy.
Those Boreas Graves have very normal names, which I quite like. It's James, Paul, and Philip. What could you? What could you get wrong? And then they have Soros, which is a bit weird. But
anyway. My god, when I get to that, Bacon. Okay, so yep, we meet Chandle, Sandor. Also pretty. Yeah,
everybody's just skipped ahead now.
Yep.
It's all over.
No, you know what? I think they're probably invested to see if you'd figure out who it was.
Okay. Anyway, we can skip the next part. We went to go see Atofe.
No, Bacon. Jesus, there's so much.
What happened?
Firstly, we meet the clever son of the ill dragon king.
Sorry. My notes didn't make it that far. No, they made it that far, but I wrote them further up. Yeah.
Yep,
we had this meeting with Vio, who's a big, cool guy. When he was like chatting, he was like taking hey, I'm Mr. Tour's guide because you're waiting for, hold on, I got his name, Chagall, who is the guy that hired Death Boy all the way back when, which is a cool bit. And then what happened? He's like, I'm really passionate about this country, and then we have a big conversation about like what's going on. Rudy has this whole thing about judging palaces now, which is funny.
He's seen a lot.
And
is this where we get the big thing about the? Oh no, it's when he goes in the throne room and he's talking about, the other kingdom's pretty good. This one's amazing. This one's like, it's not quite like that actually. He says.
Dude, this is like he's on the content grind. He's giving his like this is like a C tier. He's doing his tier list,
and he's like, there's only one that is S tier. The great armored dragon king Perugius's castle. It's true. Nothing could ever compare to the great Perugius, of course.
Lame.
Not at all. Anyway, yes, they have a conversation with the person who isn't the king. Okay, Bacon is not the king.
Yeah. Do you know his name?
Absolutely not.
Kirkland. Don't worry, I wrote this down. I'm a good boy.
Well,
Kirkland. And he's like, this guy's going to be the future guy to like be. He's even smarter than Ariel, which I'm.
That is true. They do say
Ariel. I was like, Nani, political power scaling. Oh, mamma mia, that's yummy. Yeah, we've already got our 7 great pals or whatever, but this is the real stuff. And then we have Shigal trying to reason with him, and Kirkland's being just like, "This is a really reasonable thing, but I just don't like your attitude, mate."
Yep.
And everybody's just like, "Ree."
Yeah.
It's like classic Rudy getting annoyed. People don't like his attitude or whatever. And then absolute Chad goat. No one cares about him. He's the Shardis of this series. Vio comes out, and I mean it's kind of obvious, but I didn't hit it. But like it's like his name's like Shad Vio or something like that. And it's like, I wonder who that is. Anyway, and he's like, yes, we're buddies. Anything else to add?
Rudy, this is another situation of Rudy using his connections. I think this is the first time he's using everything. He's using the Ariel's ability to stop the high taxes. He's using the Blessed Child and the Pope to get rid of the Millis Knights from this area. He's using the Dragon God Orsted's name. He's like using all these things together for once. And
like, you boys don't know my Rudy.
Yep.
Get out of here.
Yeah, so this is the big meeting. They have a meeting. Pretty crazy. But better later on, he goes back and talks to Randolph again. Well, I don't know if it's better, but it's definitely different. And Randolph gives him a ring and says, "Go show this to Kishirika, and she will help you out." Yep. But now, Bacon, with that out of the way, that useless plot thing, we get an interaction with Julie and Zainoba, who have now made a figure for of Pax for Benedict, and it was made from Zainoba's memory, because there's no portraits of Pax because of his short reign. Very cute. And we get an illustration of this, which is also very cute. So, yep.
Yeah, this is what you should be spending your illustration dollars on.
Yes. All right.
Not Guna material.
Very true. Yeah. Anyway, Eris. Oh, yeah, this is the one where we get an Eris and Roxy chapter here. That's kind of crazy. Eris tried to cook something, and she burnt it badly. And so Roxy shows up and cooks for her, basically. And practices Demon Tongue, of course.
Yes, they practice Demon Tongue, and Eris is good at it. And this comes up later where Rudy also tries to make a meal. Was it for Aisha? Or was it for Sarah?
Wait, what was this?
Yeah, and it sucks.
He makes one for Norn and Ruja.
Norn, right? That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
See, it's all connected.
Yep.
But yeah, this is cute, and this links well into like, I mean, the final bit of stuff I read in 24 was the Eris Roxy moment. So they become quite a good duo. They build their situation, like the combat duo. Sylphie getting left down the cold. Boo-hoo.
Yep.
Man, what are we gonna do with Sylphie?
You know, we had like 5 volumes of Sylphie. Okay.
You know, they said you know, there's a famous Jesus quote where he says the first will be last and last will be first, and definitely the first is last in the moment. Jeez.
Yes, true. Bacon, at this point, which one is your favorite wife?
Never agreed to polygamy, ever. Ari, you know the series is good. I feel like I need to say Sylphie, right? But it's basically whoever's had the character development at the moment. I'm just like, yeah, you're the GOAT.
True.
You're the greatest. And I remember it's a harem. I'm like, it's kind of cringe. But it works. It works, sorry. And I hate it. I hate it. Mushoku Tensei, why can't you just be like,
Yep. It's pretty crazy.
Okay. Why can't we have like more Luke and have Eris as Luke?
Very true.
Right?
Yeah, there should
be. Then it wouldn't be as good because you don't have Soldat.
Yep.
Oh my word! What a scene!
All right, we're not up to that, Bacon. Oh my goodness. All right,
I'm gonna explode.
No, we got to talk about meeting Atofe. I think is her full name. Atofe. We're meeting her again.
Tofu.
Yep. Or as the web novel used to say when I was reading or listening to the audiobook, they would say Ataferitoff. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting name.
Oh, that's way cooler.
Yep, and then I read it, and I was like, oh, it's like, it's Atofe because her name, she's like really dumb or something. It's like a simple name. Makes sense. But anyway, yep, Atofe. So
it's like calling someone dumb.
I guess. That's great, Bacon. Thank you very much. Yep, Atofe, the sister of Badigadi. The daughter, well, no, she's not the daughter of Necros Lacrosse, or is she? I don't remember I do remember the details. I don't know what they've said though at this point, so I'm not going to say anything.
Hold up. And yeah, no, I read this and then I was like, Necros Lacrosse. Oh, what is that? Necros. Oh, come on.
Wait, what do you want me to? Is it?
She didn't marry Necros, did she? No, she married. She married another guy. That's why.
She married the North god Kalman, the Perugius.
Kalman 1.
I think it was
Kalman 2 and Kalman 3 are alive, right?
Yeah, and I don't. Do you know who the two people at the end are? so I don't spoil anything. The two
Hang on.
antagonists.
When you say yeah,
Okay,
hang on.
okay,
No. I know it's number three. Count them three,
okay.
and
They did say it, right? Okay.
it's not Sword King God
Yes.
leader anymore, which makes sense. As soon as we got there, I figured out Ari. I was like, okay,
Okay, well
I know
done.
who this are. As soon as they went there, and it's like Nina's like, oh, she's not here anymore. I'm just like, oh, that's who he lost his pride to. Well, what are you doing
Excellent.
out
Okay.
here?
Yep.
And it's like snowy up there. It's snowy when he's in the snow wyvern zone. Makes
I'm
sense.
glad you pieced it together. And you can look at the illustration and be like, oh, that is Galfarian. If you, I guess you don't really know what he looks like though, but now you do.
I mean, it looks kind of how you would expect Galfarian to look.
Yep.
And it makes sense. I mean, yeah, if I was going to, I think I just didn't believe Galfarian would lose. And that's why I didn't
Yeah.
guess it. But it makes it like I was reading, I was like, it could be Galfarian. I should have thrown that out there as a possibility to sound smart. But like, I was like, oh, there's no way he'll lose, right? And then it's like he
To
lost to like,
Gino of all people. Yeah.
I know exactly. They're so lame.
Yep.
No wonder why that guy's going through a midlife crisis. Jeez. I
Yep.
would want to kill myself if I lost to Gino.
Absolutely. And over the fact
Dude,
that
I'm looking my windows.
God, he
I'm
just wanted
looking
to
my
get married.
windows aren't that big. Yeah. I just
Yep.
want to have some incest, man.
Yep. All right. But we led to this tangent
because family.
Because we were talking about family here. We were talking about Atof's family, okay?
Yeah.
So yeah,
the cross. It
Yeah.
is explained, and I've just not written it down.
All right. So
because for well, actually no, don't explain it all now because it may reveal more details. But what just so viewers know, like I didn't make any notes when reading this. I've gone back retroactively and just made notes that I'm trying to remember to bring up because I just need to remember what happens in each bit. But yeah, maybe I should have written this down. Yeah.
So to give you some high level details here, the most important thing I think at the moment, like that you just briefly mentioned, is that Atofe was, I believe, married to North God Kalman the First, or I don't remember. Yeah, they did get married. They definitely, because they talk about the drink
they get married. They get married.
That's one thing. And second, yeah, she and Badigadi refer to Necros the Cross as their father, I think, or at least she refers to Necros the Cross as father. So I'm pretty sure that
Does she have a move called Necros the Cross as well? Is that like a super special move as well? It's like it's taken from him or something.
Maybe, but we do hear that like the special thing about Lord Necros the Cross is that he was actually killed. Like the immortal, like, because obviously Badigadi and Atofe, they regenerate, nothing can kill them. Somehow the Lord Necros the Cross was killed by the hero Ars, which is pretty crazy.
Yes. I was like popping off because I was like, oh, that's the person Eris' son is named after.
True. And I have here the hero Ars was the hero who defeated Kishirika in the Human Demon War and founded the Azura Kingdom. Pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy.
Yep. Anyway, so back to the start here. So they give Atofe some wine. It's a drink that Orsted found that apparently Atofe received from the dragon god European when she got married.
Get boozed up, baby.
Yep.
He just whips out all the gifts.
European is what an interesting little guy, like an interesting name that is referenced every now and then. Because way earlier in the story, I remember, I obviously haven't reread the earlier stuff, so I don't remember that well, but I do remember the Dragon God European Jesus Christ being mentioned a lot. And then later on, we find out that he's apparently really weak compared to all the other dragon gods, and now he's not really referenced that much. But I don't know, it always stood out to me as like, what was he like, you know? Anyway, Yep, Rudy's the princess. I have some stuff. He says, she says, "You're the princess? Huh? Oh, I guess. I think so. Yeah. Here I thought you were a man. I am a man. Say what? You're a princess even though you're a man?" I was like, okay, very funny. A lot of confusion here thanks to Rudy calling himself a princess. But basically, a fight ensues, Bacon. Atofe wants to do some, I don't know, role-playing, cosplaying. She wants to be the great demon who takes away the princess.
She wants to be Bowser. She wants to be Bowser.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
She wants to be the Demon King.
She absolutely
every
does.
light novel anime never gets to fight because they never have a full adaptation.
Yep.
Yeah,
so,
it was funny. And then they have the tower and
go along.
Yeah. Oh no, that was cool. I was like, oh, Eris gets to fight finally without Rudy there, you know, kind of all the stuff, and they have like a cool moment. And then it's like Eris is like, no, don't do anything, Roxy. And then she's like, please do something, Roxy. Like, yeah, we're working together. Because Roxy freezes the spaghetti boy, whatever he does.
True.
And yeah, and then they beat everybody. And then
So
Yeah, it's cool.
Bacon, when I was reading, I was on the edge of my seat because I actually couldn't remember the details of who was going to win. Was it going to be Atofe or Eris? What was going to happen? Who's stronger here? And we find out that Atofe wins. You know, in one hand she's immortal. You know, so Eris cuts halfway through her neck and doesn't kill her, but Eris gets a giant gash in her shoulder from Atofe's attack, and then later on when they're fighting hand to hand with no weapons, Eris is flattened her back and Atofe wins. So pretty crazy.
Yeah, Atofe wins pretty easily because it's kind of like halfway through you're like Atofe's like really weak or whatever. It
really?
Like, I'm like Atofe's really strong, it's basically made like it's kind of mentioned that like Atofe's strength comes from the amount of people that she has with her, so her full strength is not as much as like Badigadi's or whatever.
Yeah,
it's kind of like I don't even know if that's true. I maybe she's stronger, but it's one of those things where it's like
yeah. I mean, we learn more about Badigadi later and how he wasn't always the person he is now. So maybe back in the day she was stronger, but who knows these days?
Yeah.
Yep.
My Giga Chad was not a Giga Chad.
The demon god of wisdom or something like that. Pretty crazy. We'll get to that.
Yeah, more like demon god of idiots. Am I right?
You don't say that. Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know if there's any more to say here. Yep. Atofe, we meet her again. You know what? I wasn't looking forward to this, but it was fun. It was okay. It went for quite a while, but it was fun.
Yeah. I had enough stuff where I was like, okay, this is cool stuff. Like mainly the Eris and Roxy stuff, and then Rudy just comes out and absolutely destroys her. Well, not really. She kind of gives up early. But she's like, "Wow, that's cool. Bye bye."
Well, he did actually. He did absolutely destroy. She got like shredded into holes, and her armor was shattered. And she got destroyed by the Mark 0, Mark 1. I don't remember which one.
Mark 1.
Yeah, Mark 1.
Version 1.
All right.
Yeah, and then they have like a whole feast or whatever. Anyway, yeah.
Oh, I forgot to mention my favorite character. Maul was in it as well. Of course, he's always back. I love him. He's always dealing with like Atofe shenanigans in the background. Yep, love it. I don't have much more to say beyond that. But Maul's awesome.
He didn't look like how I expected him to look in all the illustrations, but I was like, fair enough.
I think he is
now we're
on
the actual
somewhere. Yes, go ahead.
Now I actually had the good stuff, folks. He's at the start of this volume, in color. So.
Oh wow. Okay.
But he's we go to the Migurd Village. I was like, this is the start of the awesome trend of let's invest in what we already love, right?
Yep.
No need for more. You don't need to justify Tofu's existence because hey, that's not what I'm here for. But this is a cool moment. It's like a moment I kind of forgot that I kind of wanted, right? Kind of like the whole linear and aerial moment. It's like, hold up, we haven't actually had this yet. Crazy. And then we go and do it. And then we have the thing with Lara. And then that was great. That was crazy.
I think that's really good. Yeah.
It was amazing. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal because it makes you feel so many things and understand the complexity of so many things in such a small moment. And you're just like, yeah, it's just good payoff. It kind of comes out of nowhere. Be like, wow, this is really cool.
So there's a few things. Well, firstly, okay, how many things are we talking about Lara? There's like two things. One is that firstly we find out that she can already use telepathy, or she has been speaking, I guess, since she was born. And on one hand, we get the amazing reveal, which is that Zenith has actually been talking with Lara and Leo. Oh my gosh, telepathically, they can all communicate. Isn't that pretty crazy?
I like to say I figured that out before. They brought up. Did I make that point last time?
I don't think you did because I didn't want to. Because I remember dancing around it and being like, "Oh, Bacon, is it real? Is it not?"
I think I got it like before they mentioned it. I was like, "Oh!" Like as soon as they talked about Migurd Village, I was like, "Oh, that's why she's grumpy all the time because no one's chatting to her how she wants to."
Yep.
She's now the autistic one.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. The first thing is like she can talk and she's talking to Zenith and everything. The other thing is that like Lara is she's got she's quiet in her actual family because she can't talk and no one talks to her in the way that she wants them to, which is kind of sad but also kind of cool. She's gonna be like Roxy, living the way she did. But yeah, so I guess the most emotional climax here is when Roxy and Rudy are having a discussion of like, should we leave Lara behind? Or I guess it's more of a suggestion from Roxy, and Rudy is kind of against it, but is willing to do it for Roxy's sake. And
I love how I love it's a great conversation. Yeah,
it is. But eventually they decide not to go through with it, and the conclusion is that as they're saying goodbye, and the grandparents they're like, oh, can we hug Lara one more time? she's grabbing very tightly onto Roxy and she doesn't want to let go. And she speaks for the first time and it's like a real struggle to get all the words out. And she says, "No, I want to be with Mummy." And I'm like, oh, so cute. Lara, she is a person. She has her, she's getting a little bit of character development here. She wants to be with her mum. Pretty crazy. Yep. Who knows? Maybe she is destined for great things one day. So it's cool to kind of see stuff she's doing when she's very young. Anyway.
I think I think what I loved about it is like Rudy doesn't even say anything, but then does he even say much? But like Roxy's like, I forget I said anything, and like this never happened.
That's right.
Which I think is pretty great.
Yep. But yeah, we're going back there. I guess it's also just it's been so long since we've been here. Season 1 of the anime, whatever volume that was, volume 5 or something, I don't know, all the way back then, and here we are again. All right. Then Sylphie gives birth again. Oh my goodness. To a green-haired child. Oh my god.
I was pogging off at this point.
Yep. And then to top off the big cliffhanger here, our Manphy shows up after Sieg's birth immediately.
Is Sylphie faints?
Yep. Sylphie does faint.
And I'm like, don't be sad. Don't be sad.
Yep. But you can't blame her. She had a sad childhood because of her green hair. Yeah. But then later we kind of find out that that's not really the kind of thing going on here. It kind of is. Like, on one hand, she is kind of upset about it, but it was more the fact that she was upset that, like, if this is Laplace, and is Rudy gonna love this child? And also, even if it's not Laplace, like, he didn't really think of a name, and like, is he really gonna love it? And yeah, it was interesting a little bit. But Bacon, more importantly, did you ever think this was gonna be Laplace, or not really at all?
It's one of those things. Okay, I'm gonna explain it like. Ari, are you scared of spiders?
Yeah, I would say so, generally.
This isn't gonna work. All right, Ari, I'm not scared of spiders, right?
All right.
When I'm in my room and I see a spider, me and him would be chilling. Like, hey man, how's it going? All right, I'm gonna get rid of you eventually, but just don't keep your webs over there. Try not to ruin the paint job too much. When you make some babies, okay, we're gonna have to do some genocide.
Yeah.
So on and so forth. It's all good, but then if my sister's in the room, she starts freaking out, and that. Doesn't get to me, but eventually when it happens long enough, I'm like, just fix. I just remember eventually I'd also get scared, but it wasn't even like, it's like the fear was infectious because I was like, my mum would also get in scared. I'm like, how? My mum's scared, so I have this like weird psychological like thing where like, I'm scared, I must be scared, right? But I'm like, this is a spider. Why are we all getting scared? It's triggered by this, right? And this is the situation where like I didn't believe it, but then it happened like long enough that I was like. Maybe
yeah, it's possible.
I was like, there's no way. Honestly, I never thought of it, but yeah.
I mean, it would make a lot of sense plot wise, right? Like, we're getting toward the end of this series. Laplace hasn't come back yet, and here we are. We want one final twist. The child that we were expecting is Laplace, and what do we do now? But nope, didn't happen. Yep, pretty crazy. I think this is an effective cliffhanger. The fact that you end on this birth, you end with the green hair, you end with the thought of, is this Laplace? And you end with our Manphy showing up and summoning them to Perugius. And it's like, ooh, is this going to be Laplace? I guess we'll have to find out next volume.
So I didn't... No, okay, yeah. So I was dumb enough to not make the link that this was Laplace, could be Laplace at this point. And then by the time we get to the next volume, I'm like, oh, I guess it could be Laplace.
Right.
I was like, I was like, oh, yeah, what is this up with this kid? Anyway, yeah. Something like that.
Anyway, then we get one more scene. We finally, now you can correct me, Bacon, if I'm wrong, but I don't think we've seen the man god in a very long time. Have we seen him since volume 15? I guess. I don't remember it. If we did, it was a very small scene because I don't remember it. But finally, here we get Geese talking with the man god, and we actually see him for the first time in a long time. And yep, I don't have too much to say. Geese, I think, talks a little bit about the North God Kalman 3. Talks about how he looked up to him as an adventurer, and yep, crazy. Just a little bit of stuff here. But Bacon, then we get to volume 23. Oh my gosh, new volume cover, new story stuff.
Yeah, I would say it is cool, like this whole Kalman stuff, but it is definitely the least interesting stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. It's kind of interesting, but like, yeah, I don't know. It's cool to see Bulgaria again, I guess. That's nice. But yeah.
Yep. Wait, did we actually have... I don't think we've had the scene yet, right? I feel like I would have written notes on that.
It's the end of...
is it actually?
23, I thought.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, 22, right? That's the one we're doing now.
22, sorry.
Okay. Well, yeah, he meets him. He's waiting for this giant, like, thing he wants to fight in the Big Arctic continent.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. I guess I don't really have much to say. Yep, I didn't know, because also this is, again, like I said last time, all of this is original to the light novel. We never meet Northgard Kalman, we never meet Badigadi until like their role in the final thing with Geese coming up. So yeah, it was. I don't know if I liked. You know what? I definitely prefer this approach now that I already know what's happening, and I'm like, oh, we get to see more of like the motivation. But I don't know if I was reading the first time through what I would think about this, because I'm like, now I
think for
know
me
a little bit
this hurt the hype for why is Almanthe there, because I kind of forgot about it by the time I got back to it.
Oh sure, okay,
kind of,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool. It's like, oh, he's recruiting more people, but then like kind of by this point, I don't know. I don't think I quite gotten it yet, but like,
well, it doesn't say
by the time they try to go get the sword god, I was like, okay, yeah, I know who they all are, right? Yep. Basically, like Atofe, like I was like, this is one of the. I don't think did I get that? Yeah, I was pretty sure I knew that this was one of the Kalmans actually. Yeah, so
well done, Bacon.
Yeah.
All right, volume 23. Sylphie is in anguish that her child might turn out to be Laplace. That's my first note here.
Yeah.
And Bacon also. Next up, we get an original light novel chapter that I absolutely do not remember, which is Traveling to the Divine Continent, or the Heaven Continent, or whatever you want to call it. Which, as far as I understand, in the original light novel, we never went to web novel, we never went to the Divine Continent. We never got to visit it. So it was really cool to see it.
Really?
Yep. So when you were saying last time that we're like, oh, we have to go there because it's like the one place we haven't been. Well, we never went there in the web novel. So, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's crazy. Well, thanks for spoiling that. It never comes up again.
Yep.
Cheers, mate.
It won't be in the next 2 volumes. Unless it does. I don't know. Light novel can go different places. I guess we'll see.
Cope.
Yep.
No, I'm just kidding. I think that's so interesting because this feels so purposeful. Like it feels.
Oh, yes, it does. Yeah.
It made me in retrospect like one of the holes is that like Sylphie isn't as much in like these 3 volumes. I hope she has more to do in 25 But then you kind of mentioned like a couple of things ago when we were rereading like the other stuff. We were like, Sylphie, I kind of forgot she was in this as much or whatever, right? So,
wait, did I say that? I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're like, oh, she's an editor character, but really, you know, whatever. Anyway, kind of. I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, it's like Eris and Roxy are useful, and then Sylphie's sent off to do stuff, and we don't really get her perspective on that sword god stuff. And then she'll really come back into the fray. But I think it's interesting because it's like Sylphie's also really adept at fighting. Anyway, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, we certainly do get Sylphie point of view in this kind of section here with traveling to the Divine Continent. This is where we get the whole thing about her her reaction to hearing that Rudy hadn't thought of a name for the kid, and
it's good.
It's like basically the early part of volume 23. There is awkwardness between Rudy and Sylphie, which is a kind of a unique thing. I don't think we ever really get that kind of relationship issue stuff. Because Rudy just forgot to think of a name for the child in the past 6 months.
I think, okay, if I'm gonna make a point, right?
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
The true wife is Sylphie, right? And I think why I kind of prefer their dynamic to other ones, and they all work nicely, right? And I think volume 24 gives me an Eris Rudy dynamic, which I'm like, oh, I really like that for the first time since volume 15 even.
Sure.
To be honest, I could be forgetting stuff. I probably said something in past ones, so we're like, oh, you actually said this here. And yeah, I'll own up to that. But I do feel like what I like about Rudy and Sylphie a lot is that they're actually probably the most similar to each other in the sense of how they kind of work, I feel like. And they both kind of overthink things, and it's more interesting to see how they kind of get through their relationship. I mean, there's lots of stuff to like about Roxy as well, and how she compliments Rudius and kind of is very straight to the point. I think there's quite a few moments, particularly in these volumes, where she's just level-headed. But I don't know. I feel like, yeah. And then Eris is there. Eris is cool.
Sure.
And she's kind of, but yeah, I don't know. Like, yeah, like basically, I think I was going to say there's not a ton added all the time by Eris being a wife of Rudy.
Well, I think the thing is that
for 24 has a really awesome thing, which I'm like, yeah, okay, it justifies itself very well.
I think what makes that scene so good later in volume 24 is the fact that we don't really get many genuine scenes between Rudy and Eris talking about their relationship. We
Yes.
get a lot of scenes of them together, but they're not intimate scenes like that where they're kind of talking about.
They're mates.
Like,
yeah, they're mates with benefits, basically.
Yeah,
and a child.
yeah,
That's what it feels a lot of the time.
a lot of
but
sex.
I think that's more how Eris is as a character, and I think Eris is the most interesting of the dumb fight characters like Ghislaine and Atofe. Right? I think maybe in 15 I was more interested because it showed that she had matured, but I think from that point Eris still fundamentally is Eris. But we kind of see a lot of the same side of Eris as you kind of said earlier, and that's why I like the whole cooking scene with Eris and Roxy, or what Eris and Roxy being a partner, because that's a new dynamic and it helps show Eris be different, which I think she has a great moment with Roxy at the end of 24 when she was like, "Don't worry about the house. Sylphie said she will protect the house."
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
like kind of thing. It's like
it's
that's
awesome.
perfect. That's a great way of using your stupidity. Like it's just simple way of thinking that helps calm Roxy down. It's like you can't do anything to worry about that at that moment, right?
But it also shows that how much like Eris is like, I trust Sylphie. Like Sylphie will take care of it. It's okay. It's great.
Exactly.
Okay, so traveling to the Divine Continent. But this is, I don't know why I have this all here, because I think we have to meet with Perugius first. But let's see what I said. I don't know why I've written this all up so early. Let me go a bit lower down. So Nanahoshi, she announces that, or is this afterwards? No, the Nanahoshi stuff is afterwards. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Hold up.
So go ahead, Bacon.
Nanahoshi is there in the chat, right? But Rudy is talking to Orsted. Orsted's like, "Mate, I've told you this for like the 16th time. He's not Perugius. Don't worry."
He's Laplace, yes.
And that he's not Laplace. Sorry. Yeah. So he's not Perugius either.
That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? Oh my god.
That would be crazy. Like Perugius dies and comes back. Anyway. And then Rudy's like, "Yeah, but what if?
Yeah.
Well, you made
you gotta be
mistakes
ready,
before."
Yeah.
And then also it's like, "Dude, I trust you. We just go. Let's go to Perugius' place. Let's do the whole big thing, right?" And at this point, you're kind of like, "Yeah, okay." I think it's just because we know Perugius would flip out, and he's like, "He's just like, hey, I just don't want this to happen, right?" And so you go up there. Nanahoshi's up with their big group, and you're like, "Hey, Nanahoshi, I kind of forgot about you. Well, what's happening here? This is interesting." And then she's a bit like slighted, and you're like, "What's going on there?" Right? And then it's like, then they kind of give it to Perugius, and Perugius like humming and hawing, and then you have this awesome showdown where like Rudy's like, "I would fight you if it is my son." And I think it like Sylphie doesn't know this, but like for me, I never had any doubt that like Rudy's got into this business with Orsted because he's protecting his family, so he's going to keep on here. I thought it was very in line. Yeah, it was very cool. I don't have any quotes written. But it's a very cool scene, very nice scene, very good scene, very, very nice, very, very good 1 pound fish.
And of course, I mean, that's the introduction scene, I guess, but they, then they go to the when they're actually having the baptism stuff. Firstly, the journey is I like the journey a lot, where we have they're like, "Oh, finally, all the wires, we're all going to go on a big journey together." The whole family here. Very cute. I don't remember any specific details. It has been a little bit since I read this, I guess. It's been longer for you, Bacon. But yeah, they're traveling. Rudy's making his stone elevator thing to traverse these giant mountains of the Heaven Continent.
Yeah.
I think they have a few chats and stuff. They basically get
this
to
is
the
another
top.
one of those arcs, so I'm like, that was easy. But I kind of like how easy it was. I was like, oh my word, okay, yeah. It's just cool that he makes this stuff and he's like, oh, the goats try and pick their heads in and they just cut off instantly, and they like, it's like when he won our mana, and every 50 meters he has to change his mana, and then if he's worried, he could just park it into the wall or whatever. And then it's just fun seeing them hang out.
Like I said it before, but all this stuff in volume 23, like all the original stuff here in the light novel, I think is fantastic. Like this makes like volume 23 some of my favorites. So I really like this stuff. It's easy, it's short, but it's very fun and a lot of dynamics here. So
it gives you what you've not had in a while,
Yes,
so
it's like it's another one of those cases of like a calm before a storm, where it's like, oh, we're traveling with the whole family here. The last moment of maybe happiness we'll get. I mean, I'm not saying on what's coming later, but it's potential. Perugius does the baptism, and we get a really cool illustration, a colored illustration of Perugius baptizing Sieg. Really cool. You see this giant, Perugius looking down at his little baby. It's really cute.
Yeah, you have all the sky folk as well. They don't have stairs on their houses, which is cool.
Yeah, true. And Rudy doesn't know how to speak the sky god tongue, but he can
Oh
say the
yeah,
word
that was
Boreas.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yep.
What was that? Sivril? She was like, Lord Prugus, a demon. And then Prugus is like, I'll allow it. And then Rudis is like, such a monarch, so magnanimous, a real magmo. And I just thought it was so funny because I think there's a couple times here, and I think compared to you, I'm a Prugus hater. This guy is not magnanimous.
Oh my goodness, what are you talking about? Oh my god.
No, he's not nearly magnanimous.
Come on.
He's like, wait, he kind of, okay, sometimes he is, but then other times I'm like, what was the thing I thought was funny?
I don't know,
I know, I think it's just like, anyway, it's kind of one of those things, it's like, man, this racist is like being nice to my black friend. What a magnanimous individual. Yeah. It's like, that's not magnanimous.
No, it is. It is. It's an old. He is back. That's the definition of magnanimous. Look at him. Even though he hates them irrationally, he's still he's still letting Roxy on the.
I'm not using it. Yeah, no, that does not sit right with me. Ari.
No, he is a great magnanimous man. Just like Claire is a great person. We love Claire so much. We love Perugius as well. Okay.
Yeah, I've actually not seen that. You're not that's. Oh, it's just been posted, Ari. Hold on.
4 minutes ago, if everyone listening, the video would have just come out.
Okay, so we need to see if everybody likes. It skips straight to my discussion on why Claire's actually a bad person.
Yes, of course.
Did you add that in your hating Claire? Yeah, what a great moment. What a. This is what the commentary is everybody for. Anyway, but yeah, there's some points where I'm just like, man. See, I think this is what I like about Orsted. Orsted doesn't expect any of this. He's actually quite a chill individual, but everybody's brown nosing Perugius here, and you're one of them, Ari. I'm not here to stand for it.
Yep.
I'm not sure about you guys down in Aussie town, but as a Brit, I love monarchy. No, I've already developed a fatigue of monarchy.
Of course. Well, Perugius is a king who doesn't want to be king, Bacon, okay? He's sitting in his castle. Cool, he is the greatest character, besides Ogre, of course.
In the same way, Rudius is cool until he's, a nonce. Perugius is cool until he's a racist.
Yep. It's a shame. But you know what? We love a complex character. Okay. Anyway. The big thing here, Bacon, is that this was all, well, I don't know about from our perspective, from Rudy's perspective, it was a big all subversion here. Because Rudy was so worried about taking the baby to this big baptism because he thought Perugius is going to basically, Perugius this whole time was thinking that this baby might be Laplace. But in reality, Perugius set up this whole elaborate thing in the Divine Continent for the baptism because he wanted to show Rudy, confirm to Rudy that this isn't Laplace. He already knew it wasn't Laplace, he just wanted to show it because this water up here can confirm it. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, he's like, Lamau, Rudy, nah, mate. Yeah. I knew from ages ago. And then Rudy's like thinking oh my word, I can't use the teleport thing because that would be too easy. It's not enough of a challenge. And then Perugius is just like, yo, I just turned up here before you, kind of thing, right? So
that's great.
Anyway, to be fair, Perugius did kind of play with his head a little bit, but
Yep. Yeah. I like to think that Perugius thought it was it was interesting. He wanted to see what Rudius Greyrat would do in this situation because he's always amused by these things. Yeah.
Very magnanimous individual.
Indeed. He's giving Rudy the opportunity to prove himself. How magnanimous.
Yeah. I'm a magnanimous individual by making. I guess
would he be a friend? Bacon. He gave the wives and Rudy all one amazing scene traveling together.
True.
What a magnanimous
man. So true. Magnanimous, giving us Mushoku Tensei fans more content, slice of life content.
Yep. And
we truly want and deserve.
How incredibly magnanimous that he is willing to name Rudy's child. Okay, and he says no thanks is necessary. I will name this child. It's okay, and it's great. And he names him Saladin. Okay, so Sieghard.
And it's just like what I gave him a name.
Yep.
You guys aren't allowed to give him a name.
Yep.
How dare you turn up 30 days late to this meeting?
Pretty much.
It's not like he had a kid or anything, and it's Peru's like, oh, I've never had a kid myself, so I wouldn't actually understand. To be fair, that was a cool moment, but when he's chastising him, come on, mate, chill out.
That's what makes
on teleportation.
That's the great element of Perugius, okay? It's his gruff exterior, but his magnanimous interior. That's what we like so much about Rugius.
That was a line. That was a cute line, Ari. You should put
you.
down a teacup.
Yeah, true. I'll put it in a video essay one day, my Rugius video that I'll make.
Yeah.
All right. So that's all done, the baptism. Then Nanahoshi announces that she's finished the magic circle to go home. And the best thing here, Bacon, is that the first one to say anything and stand up and take a step forward is Orsted, who steps forward. He's like, "Oh, so you did it finally! Congratulations, Nanahoshi!" And I was like, "Oh, look at this! They traveled together back in the day."
Cutie, good Orsted.
Yeah.
Oh, what is
he was so invested in Nanahoshi's return home. How cute!
Okay,
yeah.
what I love, okay, right, is I completely forgot about this whole entire thing. I was like,
wow.
Yeah, we got to do this.
Yep.
No, it's just one thing I was wrapped up, like Rudy, I was wrapped up.
I mean, there's a
Mushoku
lot
Tensei.
happening.
Yeah, like I was like, this is one of those threads. I'm like, oh, what is gonna happen? And then,
yep, it almost does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Yes. So Nanahoshi, firstly, they're like, okay, we're going to do the experiments. But I think before that, Nanahoshi whispers something into Sylphie's ear. And we later find out that she was whispering that if she needed anyone to talk to, then she would talk to Nanahoshi.
Very cute.
Yeah, the cute thing is that Sylphie, and later when Rudy's like, what did she ask you? Sylphie's like, what did she say? She's like, she basically said, I'm not going to tell you or something. It was like a secret or something. And it wasn't really a secret. It was just that Sylphie liked the fact that Nanahoshi had chosen her to like talk to and have this like little secret with, or this like little whisper with. And it's like, oh, that's kind of cute. Because Nanahoshi, there's like a meme. I know in the Mushoku Tensei fandom, there's a very big meme of like Sylphie hating Nanahoshi. Because every time she's brought up, Sylphie's always like, oh, I'd be fine with anyone being a wife, but not Nanahoshi though. We can't have Nanahoshi be Rudy's wife. That's just like not possible for some reason. So it's very funny. But look at them having a cute interaction here.
Yeah.
Another kind of general thing to say here is just showing how far Nanahoshi has come. Initially, she didn't want to interact with anyone, but here she is saying goodbye to everyone and crying at all these things and all these characters that she's met along the way. And she sees, she didn't used to see these people as real people, right? They were in a fantasy world. The same way Kai Entertainment sees all these characters for some reason. But now she sees them as real people. She's having a bath in their house, so on and so forth. But yeah, Bacon or
like Zenoba and the dolls.
True. Yes, indeed. All right. Don't know how she's come so far. Anyway, Rudy. Oh yeah, so Rudy and Nanahoshi, they have a conversation where they talk about Rudy's past self. Like actually, like he accidentally slips up, and Nanahoshi realizes that he was the big fat guy who saved them.
Hold on.
Did we skip over something?
We skipped over the whole failing to teleport, mate.
Did we? Oh my god! See, I don't even write these notes because they're just in my mind,
Jeez.
All right, they do a whole experiment. Do you want to say it? You want to explain it? This bit?
Yes, they have this whole experiment. Rudy is like getting like he's having going left, right. It's like AC batteries. It's like alternate current, not DC.
Well done, Bacon.
And yeah, it's like pumping left and right, and he almost gets juiced down. It just doesn't work, right? That's the big. It really sets up because like the chapter title is called Nanahoshi's Fate. And you think about that diary, I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? And you're like, it's not going to be this easy. No way, it's this easy, right? And it wasn't that easy, it turns out. And then it has this great moment. I was pogging off. I was in my bed. I was like, there's a couple of pog off moments, but this is one of them.
Wait, which one specific? Which one are we talking about? What moment? The failure?
When he slips up there, he's the fat boy.
Oh, okay.
Fat guy.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, no way. You're actually you're way more handsome now or whatever." I was like, "Oh, no way. That's crazy." Yep. But like Rudy, I think like it's like hyper. He's like hyper fixating. He's like, "Oh no, this is like I think that there's so much here, but like basically he's like, oh no, she could get depressed. Like I'm trying to avoid the diary, all this stuff, and they like, I think touches her on the shoulder, and she calls him like a creep or whatever. And he's like, what? My boy can't do anything right. And then she's like actually just thinking, she's being big brain mode, and then she talks about, I'm not sure if this is before or after, but then she talks about, oh yeah, like I've been sent in the past by someone else, and that someone else is probably the other Japanese boy that got hit by the truck, because I don't think the other Japanese boys got hit by the truck. It was just one of them. It's just me and him. So that guy, he's probably in the future, and he helped Orsted and then sent this back in time. So I was teleported here so I can get this teleportation thing to go back home in time when he's done his thing with Orsted to then do it, and I want to go cryogenically freeze myself. That's what I remember. I think there's loads of details there that
Don't
I
worry,
didn't
I
get,
got the details here. But my goodness,
okay.
what a yeah, what a theory. Firstly, yes, this yeah,
Okay,
go ahead.
can I actually give another thing? One of my favorite things is when Rudy surmised it, he was like, "Yeah, this sounded perfectly reasonable when I was listening to her say it," and then she gave one criticism, and now it sounds perfectly unreasonable. Just like that, she's convinced me and unconvinced me. I was like, "Rudy, I'm with you, buddy.
Yep.
I'm not critically analyzing this. I'm just being like, yeah, whatever you say, Nanahoshi.
Yeah, I'm sure this is
Whatever you
happening.
say."
Yeah. Yep, fantastic. We'll get to this. I want to say firstly, I think I do really like this Nanahoshi conversation with Rudy. Especially because, like, she's being, like, I know, I guess, reading this, that, she's being frozen in time now. So this is kind of like, this might be the last stuff, we get here. I guess we'll see what happens later, but it's wrapping up just like, I don't know what to say. It's like, it's at the end of this story, we're kind of going back to right at the beginning of it, and we're talking about Rudy, what he was like back then, and how he used to be a completely different person who, in a very kind gesture, sacrificed his life and saved, tried to save Nanahoshi, and how far he's come all this way, and also thinking about how far Nanahoshi has come, and how, like I said before, she didn't really care about people in this world, but here she is having a conversation with Rudy about I guess it's talking about her real life, but also in the context of, she talks about how his family, like, even if they knew what he looked like, that I'm sure they'd still love him. And this was all, I like this, a lot of cute stuff. But the cutest bit here, which we didn't even bring up at all, is that Rudy sends a few letters with Nanahoshi.
Yeah.
One of them is, go ahead, Bacon, you can talk about this if you want. But
well, it's like, so one of them is like an apology. This is the big thing. I was like, Kyle entertainment talking points in my head.
Yep.
And I think I was like, is she going to is he going to actually try and interact with people? And it's interesting because he's like, well, you could, you're going to teleport land, but you could end up in like the Sahara Desert or whatever. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to give you loads of provisions, but here's a letter asking my brothers, who are mega rich, by the way, because we always forget this. Rudy was a rich boy back in his life. Asking them to help you if need be. And all that stuff. So I thought that was quite kind of cool.
Yeah.
And there's also the presumption that she'll be teleported back into like like the timelines are 1-to-1. Like this isn't like interstellar or whatever, but like the time truncation or whatever. So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's a whole thing that like I'll be interested to see how it goes. And I think I mentioned earlier, it'll be interesting. Like that will end up with Nanahoshi going back with whatever with Chandle, because he's the other Japanese guy, as we all know. Who's reincarnated,
of course, yes.
I probably forgot some other things, but yeah.
Yep. So 2 letters. Very cute. God, imagine. I'm just trying to imagine, like, imagine being Rudy's family and then getting a letter from Rudy saying like, "Oh, I'm so sorry about all this and all these details and everything," and talking about his life, and that'd be something, wouldn't it? 10 years after you think he's dead. And then
I assume he didn't. Say anything. I think he just said, "I survived and I'm doing really well now. I've got a wife and kids or whatever."
Yeah. Well, no, he also, I think he also mentioned how he apologized and talked about how he's changed and everything. I think that's what he said as well. There was a big thing about apologies.
But he probably didn't mention like about the actual world and expected them to believe that he was a fantasy world.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, what I don't get is that like they got hit the truck at the same time, right? But they're in there, they got spawned 10 years apart. So, I mean, she could just get respawned right at the moment. We don't know how the time works here. So,
very true. Anyway, at the very, very end, she failed, was the big thing that we got. But no, she didn't fail here, okay? She's still resilient, which is great.
Yeah.
Now, the theory.
PogChamp.
We got a big theory here, Bacon. Nanahoshi's old theory. So the old theory was someone in the future placed Nanahoshi in their past, so history changed and the total matter in the world was displaced, so the Fitoa region was wiped from the world. Now, there's a few new additions, so, and also I'm just going to read through these notes because I don't remember exactly what they say. So Nanahoshi and Rudy being summoned here is related to the battle between the man god and the dragon god. Perhaps either Orsted or the man god, in a desperate move in the future, summoned them to alter the course of history. But it wouldn't be Orsted. It shouldn't be Orsted, because if he could alter the past, then he would probably choose a time that is far more impactful. And it shouldn't be the man god, because he's destined to win anyway if history doesn't change, so he wouldn't really want to change history anyway. Then we have like an updated thing or a summary here. So Rudy,
what was that thing with Orsted? So Orsted didn't do it because he wouldn't change that moment.
Like, yeah, like he could choose a bunch of other moments in history, and he's already alive at that point anyway, so he could change history himself with his loop, right? It feels a bit strange for him to have summoned them at that point. Yeah. Anyway, so I think summary here. So Rudy and Nanahoshi were sent to different times, so we know that happened. So maybe the final person, I don't know what they said in the light novel, Shinohara Akito is what I've written, was sent into the future where he meets Orsted. Together they find out that the cause of losing to the man god has something to do with the past, so they use the abilities of a blessed child to further alter the past and change the tide of the battle against the man god, which involves summoning Rudius. They then win the fight against the man god because of Rudius' summoning, but Shinohara can't return home, so he uses the blessed child's ability again and summons Nanahoshi, who then goes on to develop the necessary teleportation circles to go home. And Nanahoshi, the reason she can't return home now is that either she has to like meet some condition to return home, or because she in the future she's already returned home, so she has to kind of catch up to the timeline or something. So this is a theory. I don't know how much sense it makes. There's a lot of assumptions. For instance, that random blessed child that gets brought up. We got the
we
just the
mentioning
mentioning
that
of like
existed, right?
Did we?
Like, it was talked about before, I think. Yeah. I wasn't surprised.
Okay, so there's that. We also get like the wild jump here that Orsted and this Akito person would team up, and there's like a few assumptions here, but I guess I don't know. It's a working theory. Yep, pretty crazy. All right, then we meet Sarah again. So.
Oh my word.
Yep. Rudy, he's in the Strife Zone, another region where I thought you predicted a lot of things there, Bacon. You know, we went to the Bigaric continent.
What can I say? I looked at the map and I was like, this is where it's not done. And every story would probably touch on this once.
And this is not something, again, I don't remember this in the web novel, so look at this. They're just bringing everything together.
This was...
Well, firstly, Sarah wasn't in the web novel, right? We didn't get
What's
volume
in
7.
Vol 23 then?
Well, there's not a one-to-one. Well, okay, so in the web novel, there is no volume 7. So all the stuff with Sarah and Soldat, none of that is in the original web novel. It's a completely light novel original volume.
What?
Yeah. So it's pretty crazy. This is probably why it is all added into this volume here.
How do you read that before the anime then?
Wait, what do you mean?
How do you read that before the anime then?
Oh, the light novel. Like, it came out after the anime, I think. No. So volume 7 was already... When the anime finished... I think up to volume 14 was officially translated, and volume 25 I think was already written. So yeah, I think light novel started before the anime. I think.
Yeah. Sorry, I just thought you read all the web novel.
No, I read up to volume. No, I read all the light novel up to volume 14. So Turning Point 4 is when I finished the light novel.
Okay, good thing you didn't tell me that then, because I may have assumed like Sarah would be a bigger character than she actually is.
Yep, pretty crazy to think about. Yep. I love volume 7, so I'm glad it exists. Yep. All right.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that the story could work without Sarah or Soldat. I mean, it can, but like it would be just like way worse. Like,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, light novel. This is what we love.
Yep.
What can I say? I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff. Like, I love the Sarah meets all that. He turns up, and then that 15-year-old girl that probably is not 15 anymore, but she was like, oh, that's your old fling. I don't know, something about that like terminology where it's like so casual. I'm just like, and then she turns around, it's like, oh, it's Rudy, and it's like then like she's made fun of because she's like put on weight or something like that, and then it's
a little bit,
kind of stuff like that. Anyway, it's made fun, and then the classic, it works on me every time, guys. Every single time, I'm just like, yeah, you don't know our boy Rudy. It's like he walks up to these guys and everybody's like, huh? Who is this guy? And like, we don't know who this guy is. And then he's like, yeah, I'm mates with the blessed child. What can I say?
Yep.
And it's like, yeah, let him know. And all the girls are like, who are like, don't like men because the Amazons or whatever. Then he's like, yeah, I'm not bad. Even though he like smiles at them multiple times to try and be nice, and only Sarah knows that's like, yeah, that's just really trying to be nice.
Smile.
Yeah. Get some done again. You would have thought, yeah, like, have you ever tried to practice your smile in a mirror? Like,
no.
It's one of those things where like I've never really tried it either, but like, every single time I see like a picture of myself, I'm like, man, I don't know how to look natural. Maybe that's just how I look.
Yeah, true.
Maybe I just hate my smile. But yeah.
Yep. Well, I think it's fair to hate Rudy's smile here. How much trouble it gets him into. But then what about? Oh, actually, never mind. We'll talk about that later. Okay. Yes, crazy. Cool. We love the reputation stuff. Then after this, Rudy, he tells Sarah everything. Turning point 4 about the interaction with Orsted, everything, the whole history.
Yeah.
Which is really cute. What is this? She asked Rudy. Oh yeah, she asked Rudy to describe Orsted, and his description was, "Oh, he has a very scary face, but he's my own personal Cupid because he brought like Eris and Rudy back together." I was like, "Oh, look at this! What a description."
Didn't she say something? Oh, by your description of him, he sounds like a very nice guy, or something like that.
I vaguely do remember something like that.
Yeah.
Yep, the mismatch kind of a little bit between Rudy and the perception of Orsted and everyone else's. Kind of cool.
I really like this scene, and I know it's kind of traitor, but I think I really like Sarah's character. Overall, like definitely how she's like matured here, and like how they just reflect on the old stuff and how it is done very maturely. And then at the end, she's just like, I'm quitting it. Like she kind of realizes how happy Rudy is, and she kind of remarks that Rudy has changed so much, and I've not changed at all. But then Rudy also thinks, oh no, I've changed. I thought you've actually changed quite a bit. It's one of those things where it's like maybe like she hasn't actually. She's been doing the same thing for too long, and it's the kind of like it's her turning point. Like classic Rudy provoking change in people by him when he doesn't realize it. And I think
that's really interesting. We're gonna have to talk about that next time. Yeah, true, very true.
You have to go.
No. This is next time. Is in next 25 and 26. We're gonna talk about that again.
Oh man, crazy.
Yep. I'm trying to think what else was there in the Sarah stuff. Yeah, I guess when we're talking about Sarah kind of changing and stuff, I think one element is the fact that she travels with people who I think they're friends. Like that's probably how you describe it. They're in an adventure party and they're friends. Whereas back in the day, she wasn't really. She was a very lonesome person. She had Suzanne, whatever her name was.
Suzanne.
And she talks about how, Sarah, she's talented, so she doesn't really connect with other people that much. And here she is, in her own little band of people. Cute. We saw them before as well, so it's not that effective. But I think it's great to catch up with Sarah here. I
liked it.
Yeah, I wish there was more that I remembered to talk about, but not too much.
There's gonna be loads of small things. It's one of those things where I really like the discussion, the dynamic of conversation they have with each other.
That is,
and
true.
Like how, Rudy's celibacy is brought up a lot, and it's like.
It's like she's laughing at him a lot, and it's the fun dynamic there.
I think, she does feel like a good friend to Rudy, and she kind of is somehow, despite all the female characters that Rudy interacts with, like she still adds a new dynamic feeling. And like she almost like there's more of a mate vibe to it of like their most cringe moments were together, if that makes sense. Like there's like a bonding through that cringe. And she gets the hot cocoa out, and then she takes it to a point, and she stops herself, but she still crushes on her massively, right? They still really like each other. But then she notices probably Eris before Rudius notices Eris, and she's like, I'm gonna get out of Dodge real quick. Because like Eris is scary.
Very true. All right, well, talking about interactions, Bacon, and coincidences. Next, we catch up with Soldat, because he is basically Rudy is like, there's a monkey-looking man over there, Miller's Knights. Go capture him.
It's amazing. I was just back to back, and I was like, guys, it's crazy. And that's actually I'm poking off right now.
It is. It's crazy. It's convenient, but my goodness, it's effective. I'm very glad that they were right after each other. So, Soldat, in classic Soldat fashion, he's defending his demon friend who the Miller's Knights are unfairly chastising for looking like geese. But I don't know what to say. Like, even just the initial reaction is fun, where it's like, I think, now you can correct me if you've read this more recently, I don't remember though. Soldat, I think he like sees Rudy, and he doesn't like have a big moment. He's like, oh my god. He like realizes him, but then he's like more distracted with like defending his friend with the Miller's Knights. So he like keeps doing that. That's just feels very Soldat to me. The big like go ahead.
Sundere. Yeah. And then he's like, it's my monkey friend. Don't back off. And then Rudy's like, oh yeah, these are my chill guys. And then like Sundere also doesn't. It's not Sund. I call him Sundat. He's Sundat now, not Soldat.
Oh wow.
But
that's what a great name.
Sundareat. Anyway, Sundat. He's what is he like? He's like, oh yeah, okay, fine. You'll tell me with the Miller's Church, whatever kind of thing. Let's go have a pint, like kind of thing. Like
Yep.
he like doesn't let like I think, but then also it kind of makes sense because I think Soldat is another Paul, and
Yes.
Paul just kind of expects that from Rudy. I think Soldat's also that point. It's like, dude, yeah, that makes sense. You're gonna do big things. Fair enough. Okay, like
Yeah.
you know, when I thought about you, I'm like, yeah, he's probably doing something crazy now, right? If yeah, so that's
Yep.
interesting. I think. And yeah. Anyway, you say
I
what you were really happy about.
um oh, I completely forgot. But the general thing is that Soldat is like what you said. Okay, no, you know what it is? I think it's the fact that Soldat was, and Sarah, but more so Soldat, was in Rudy's life at a point where he was away from everyone that he currently lives his life with. Like no, like Aisha, Norn, Lilia,
Hmm.
Sylphie, all none of these people were with Rudy at his lowest point in his life, which was Volume 7. He was all
Hmm.
on his own. He was in this like village in the Northern Kingdom. And the only person, there were only a few people around, and Soldat is one of them. I guess one of the very few surviving people at this point. And it's just like he has a very unique perspective of Rudius that no one else does, which is really cool. And also, like what you said, I think that is a very good point where it's like he kind of just expected things of Rudius to happen, like big things like this. So it's like, okay, we can get past that. We can just talk as people now. Like I can make fun of you talking about this story that I tell all the boys, you know, about how suicidal you were, and it's just a great fun dynamic here, basically.
I think it's because he's seen Rudy at his lowest, so he's not in. He has like such a unique interaction with him where he's like, "Oh, I literally couldn't care less
Yeah, sure.
about, like, yeah, I couldn't care less with chums. I'm gonna make fun of you. You're my mate. Good top bands kind of thing, right?"
Yep.
And then there's only like your point that you made. I only realized at the end there when like Rudy, I think, says it himself. But then he just lays it on. He's telling this whole story, and then you just see Eris's interaction. Soldat's just
Oh,
like
what a great pair.
he's
Oh
like,
my god.
"Hey, Missy, you're in a laugh at this point. That's hilarious," the kind of thing. But it's
Yep.
like he doesn't have the context, and he's like, "Wait, hang on, no, you're the girl." And then like Soldat then actually gets real for a second, and he actually gets
Yeah.
mad at her, kind of thing. He's then he gets protective, really, and it's fun because this is like so many times we've had. What's an example of this? Like say, actually no, this is not a good example at all because the Xena stuff is exactly the same. But basically, we'll have like a character have their perspective of the whole situation, and we'll like cut and cover it over from their perspective. But this is Soldat telling someone else his perspective, which I think is interesting. So
Mm-hmm.
like a different way. Instead of going to his perspective of it, he kind of tells it. So it's still got like a little bit on it, but then he's like, what is it? He's like, oh, I really hated this kid, and then he starts punching me, and it's like, I let him punch me. It's kind of all these things like
Yeah,
just
that
like
was
you
very
assume,
cool.
but it's good to get like explicit
Yeah, like he
stuff
talks. I
for.
remember. Yeah, go ahead, Bacon. Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, continue.
I was gonna say I just like the insight we get with the punch where he's like, you know, this kid punched me, but what am I gonna do? He's a kid. He's not got a weapon or anything. Like, am I gonna hit him back? I just let him hit me, and I'm like, oh, that's great. Funny to think
Mm.
about because we only saw it from Brody's perspective back then. But yep. Sorry to cut you off there, Bacon.
Yeah, no, exactly, and it kind of like trivializes it, but then he's like, oh yeah, and then like he,
You know,
I sent him to
he
like the
is
best
also
places I
downplaying
know.
it. He has to be. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sure that back then he was really like he was trying to do his best to
concerned.
save Rudy. Yeah, exactly. He was
Yeah,
concerned.
this is his bit.
Um,
This is
yeah,
his bit. But then he's like, oh yeah, I don't care about, you know,
yeah,
I don't care about this guy or whatever. Like I'm just whatever. Like
yep,
yeah. I set him up with some lady. He comes back. It's not working. He tries to kill himself, and
mm-hmm,
that's dumb. Whatever. Like
yep.
anyway, yeah, it's crazy.
But my
Yeah, and
goodness,
then like
it's just
yeah,
it's
and
so great that this has
that's
become like his favorite story. He tells his adventurer buddies. It's it's just so
yeah,
funny.
that's true.
The story of this depressed kid I saved one time. Yep. Um,
Mm.
Another kind of small character thing we get mentioned, and Rudy says this as well, is that I guess Rudy characterizes Soldat here as someone who is always looking out for other people. He talks about how like, you know,
Yeah,
he's helping his like demon face friend here. And he's always like he's staying behind. Like we didn't even mention, like Soldat isn't just an adventurer now. There was like
yeah.
a whole thing with his like the party that was like in charge of his party, like the big like guild or something, and they're like now adventurers and mercenaries, so they can keep making money to like keep serving all these giant people they have, and it's a big economic struggle and everything. And Soldat stays around and is like willing to die now because you know there's people that he is responsible for, and he wants to like look after all the newbies and stuff. And cute. Soldat's pretty great, but yep.
Yeah.
Um, what is there? I have one subtle note, not a subtle note. I have one note about a small line, which is Rudy says, according to Orsted, father and son have very similar fates. It was kind of funny to think about.
Father and son.
I don't know what point that came up with, but I wrote it down. I think it would have been talking about what would he be talking about at this point? It has to be something about Soldat and his dad. Did he talk about his dad? I don't remember, but it gets brought up, Bacon. I promise you, I wrote it down. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, I think what I just love, I love that it's like, okay, we get some actual Eris stuff. Like that hits like Eris. Is very straight to the point. There's a couple moments. Actually, another one I remember is when Eris is talking to Rudy when he like reveals he's from another world, basically, and she's just like, "You're still the same person, right?" Though, or like you reincarnated, you're still the same person, right? It's a similar thing, but I think it's like here she actually has to. Here before she was like, oh, he said in a letter, he's moved past it, it's okay. But here's like, she didn't realize he actually tried to kill himself, and I think that is actually really important. Like to Rudy, it doesn't matter. To us, it is kind of like thrown away. But if you hear that for the first time, you know,
like we ever? Okay, let me think, because obviously this is a big moment of Eris truly realizing how badly she hurt Rudius back then. I don't think we've ever seen her kind of reflect on it before. I don't even know if she was aware of how bad. Oh, she definitely wasn't. I think they even point this out in this chapter where it's like she didn't know how bad it was.
It is one of those things where like she probably rationalized that it hurts him, and she's like, "Oh, I hurt you. That's not good, right?" But it's hard for her to comprehend, like, and for any of us, right? But yeah, this one's really tough. And then it hits her. Yeah. So and it's like it's like, as I said, this is like the final of the really good moments between everybody.
Yeah. And they kiss, I think. Don't they? Or am I thinking of something else?
Yeah, they just kiss. But he remains celibate.
True. He's a good boy. Good on him. All right. Now I have a small note here about the legend of Rudius. How funny. About this fella. Don't know what they call him now, but when he was an adventurer, he introduced himself as Quagmire Rudius. He'd smiled at everyone, acting all formal and being super polite.
Yes.
All that in spite of being a first-rate adventurer. No exaggeration either. He took down a red worm straggler all by himself. Then Rudius is like, I didn't give myself that name or introduce myself that way, nor did I defeat a straggler all on my own, but I guess these kind of stories do get the benefit of a little embellishment. So it's like, yep, Rudius' reputation keeps being exaggerated, and it's pretty funny every time. He's like, he beat Ogre, he beat the water god, he fought the dragon god. I guess he did fight the dragon god, but he beat a red dragon all by himself. Crazy. He introduces himself as Quagmire Rudius. There's no way. I don't think he's ever said that once in his life, that I'm Quagmire Rudius. It just became a thing. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yep.
He always calls himself Quagmire, though.
That is true. At some point he does, yeah. But never Quagmire Rudius. Anyway. But more importantly, Bacon, the legend of the forest goddess Lane searching for the red-haired girl.
That was cool.
Yeah. Oh my god, look at this. We get so much closure in these. But it's not really closure because we didn't really need it. But there's it's just so funny to think about Ghislaine getting teleported here randomly and the whole legend being like built around her. And he gets brought up again, and they're all standing at Eris, and it's like, oh, maybe you're the girl that will get our blessing from the goddess Lane if we hand you over to her. Anyway.
Yeah.
Then we get the I don't remember any of this, Bacon, so it's so good that it's in the light novel. We find Hilda and Philip's graves that Ghislaine made. There's so many small things. Like there's the fact that I think Rudy points out that I'm sure that in this moment, Ghislaine was very happy that she learned how to write. Or this is why she was so thankful that she learned how to write. Because she could write the names on these graves. And it's like, oh my goodness.
I was like, that was so cute.
Yeah. But I've saying it again, so much closure, okay? Like Nanahoshi, the Sarah, Soldat, Eris's parents. It's so much. It's great. Ghislaine and her writing abilities. Just this is a volume of closure which I like a lot. Again, more, and also this is again closure, I guess, once more for the teleportation incident. Just the final, like, getting back to where it all started, and the first turning point, and how bad that truly was, and how it changed the paths of everyone's lives, and just thinking about it back then, pretty crazy. And one more thing that really got to me, because this is just cute writing, okay? Where they decide to move the graves, okay? They dig up the bodies, they move it to Azra, and they go to Luke. And Luke is like, oh, we can't put him here because of whatever, there's some reason. But we have this, like, isolated graveyard that was made by a previous king, like 10 years ago in secret. And there's like one grave there, and it says, "Here rests the ferocious lion." And then they never say who it is, but Rudy's like, "I think we all know who this is," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, the great Soros has been buried here." My goodness, people, and there's also like the implication that the previous king did like this, like they did like Soros. He was a character. He was a ferocious lion. And it's just, I got to be Bacon a little bit. I was like, oh, Soros, remember him? My goodness. Talk about closure. All right, so next up, we catch up with Kishirika. Okay, she's been captured by Atofe. She's got like there's an illustration, where she's got like a classic prisoner outfit, and she's got.
Did we
like
talk about them going to Nina's place yet, or was that?
I don't have any notes on that, so
that already happened
at this point. Yeah, it probably did.
I mean, yeah. And then we already kind of talked about Nina's pregnant, and then Rudy's being really dumb.
Oh, yes.
He's like, there's no way she's pregnant or whatever. He doesn't just clock that. Always like, oh, she must be upset, stomach or something like that. I don't know.
Yep, that was very funny.
One thing I would say there, because I've literally just opened up the light novel discussion, and I think you mentioned last time it's made so obvious what Geese's plan is. I feel like I would have known exactly by this point what's happening. It's like, oh, that guy's gone.
No, this is all original too. As far as I understand, I don't think they ever go to the Sword Sanctum here. At least I don't remember it. Maybe they do, and I just don't remember. There's so much of this volume is just I don't remember none of this, Bacon.
Oh, so they don't need. So hang on. So what happens? So
I could just be wrong though.
And Rudius just instantly goes from Atofe's place to the Ogre place.
Now that you say it like that, there's no way that's the case. I have to be forgetting it. This stuff has to be there. You know what, guys? This is your chance to shine. In the comments, please tell us, what is the difference? What was in the light novel? What was not in the web novel? I want to know, okay? Yeah. In my memory, what it is like, firstly, there's the Perugius. Like, Perugius still names the kid, right? Like, that happens. But we don't get a whole adventure to the baptism, and none of that happens. Then I don't remember. I think they definitely meet Atofe again. I think the majority of the volume is like Atofe and wait, this is volume 22 I'm thinking about. Yeah, they meet Atofe, they talk to the Dragon King, all that happens. I don't know what happens in this volume, Bacon. Who knows? No Soldat, no Sarah, nothing. It is what it is. Maybe they just meet Atofe again. Maybe Atofe, maybe this Kishirika stuff is like merged in with that earlier Atofe stuff. I don't remember. Anyway, crazy.
Yeah, that is that's wild. Anyway. Yeah, okay. I guess it's just like, oh, I've recruited this random person, and then the other person, which would hurt. That would hurt. The Sword Sanctum God guy, because I do like him.
Yeah.
What's his name again? Galfarian?
Yeah, Galfarian.
Galfarian. He's cool, right? I don't think... Thing is, if he's collecting powerful people, you're just like, who are those powerful people? I feel like maybe the Badigadi one would hurt. I think what I did like, though, is because I'm like, does he get rigid?
Yeah.
And that's what I like later on. So that's the cool thing. So... Now move on to Badigadi, right? Is this in the web?
Wait, not yet.
In the web novel? No, not yet. Okay.
And firstly, this is absolutely not in the web novel, because I definitely would have remembered this giant backstory with the Golden Knight Aldebaran and all that. We're gonna get to that, but yeah, first we get Kishirika, and they got me, Bacon. They tricked me, okay? Because this whole time he's building it up. He's like, Kishirika, I have this box, and in this giant, this like very strange looking black box, there's a ring, and he gets the ring out. I'm like, oh my god, it's Randolph's ring, but no, it's a donut. And he gives her a donut. I'm like, oh, you got me there. Very funny.
And then it has one of the best illustrations, where it's just like, oh, Sugoi in my pajamas.
Yep. Pretty great.
I'm very kawaii.
So yep, Kishirika, she searches for Geese, sees Viral Kingdom most likely. What else? She gives Rudy a demon eye, the demon eye of, I don't know, distant sight or something, I think it's called. I don't quite remember. Yeah. Makes him look really far. Pretty cool. And yep, they
definitely head out. Okay, that's definitely like one of those Chekhov's guns. It's already come in handy, but it's going to come in super handy at one point. You're just like, okay.
Maybe not. All right, anyway. 4,200 years ago, Badigadi, wait, what is this? That's my I can't say that yet. 4,300 years ago, Badigadi was involved with all this stuff, okay? Crazy stuff back then. He feels in debt to the man god. Oh, wait, no, this is all still the Kishirika stuff. So this is what Kishirika was telling him. Because obviously they're engaged.
Okay. Kishirika tells Rudy that don't get tangled up with the man god. That these are bad tastes in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it kind of goes on there. From there, I don't think it tells you much about Badigadi from there.
Mm-hmm.
Just we get the Badigadi thing because he gives his whole backstory basically.
Yep. So
in his
Geese,
thing where Geese is
yeah.
talking to him.
So Geese and Badigadi, they meet up, you know. Oh my gosh, Badigadi, he's gonna be the final apostle here, or the final like piece of Geese's puzzle. So there's the drinking contest basically, where Geese and Badigadi they're gonna drink, and whoever wins wins. But it's not a contest of who can drink the most; it's the contest of who can outwit the other, you know. And Geese outwits him by saying that even if I pass out or throw up, what is that? Why would that mean I lose? I'm gonna keep drinking.
Even if I vomit.
Yeah, vomit. That's right. So yep. Geese keeps drinking.
Thing is, Geese keeps drinking and then he still loses, and then bad guy is just like, that's funny. He beat me.
Well, I mean, he did better. He's a magnanimous, okay, just like Brugius. I think he even says that. He's like, I'm the magnanimous Stephen King or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in his mind he did good.
But does he realize he does realize he has to fight Rudy? I guess like he doesn't care that much about Rudy at this point, because our perspective would be like, oh, we only know Badigadi through Rudy. Of course, Badigadi likes Rudy. But then here he's like, I think, yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff where people are like, and it happens later on with the slime as well, where it's like, oh, we should, even though the man god is really like, I think it just almost goes to how awful the world is, that they're like, you know, even though this guy is like an awful human being, he did help me out once, and that's more than most people. Like, because Rudy has had a whole life, he's had non-toxic people in his life, then he's like, can't be, you know, he's not going to work with the man god after getting ditched. And it's weird because, yeah, Badigadi, like, it's not really a rational reason. It's just that's just who Badigadi is. But like, it's
I think he does have a decent reason, which is that like he attributes the man god's interactions for changing him to be the person he is now. Without the man god, he wouldn't be the Badigadi he became. He wouldn't live his free life like Kishirika lives. You know, like I think like what you were saying, kind of the thing that people like about the man god is. Well, one thing is that, like, yeah, this is a cruel world, and the man god is like a little respite or whatever of like non-cruelness. But the second thing is that he makes your grandest like dreams come true, right? At least momentarily. Like, if you could achieve your like the thing you always wanted to achieve, if you could like what is there? I don't what are the examples here? I'm trying to even think. Like Geese, if you could become what was Geese's whole thing with the
he wants to become a great hero.
Yeah, he wanted to be a great hero, but what was I don't remember the details.
He just wants not to die.
Okay, then we'll stick with the Badigadi thing, okay, because it's the simplest one.
Yeah,
if you can be this great powerful person who is loved by Kishirika and everything, if you can if the man god can do that for you, is it worth him also leading to the destruction of your life and everything? Like, is the bad done by the man god, which is like the stuff happens after he like grants your wish, does that undo the wish that he granted you in the first place? And for some people like Badigadi and Geese and I guess anyone else we've seen who's been an apostle who's sided with him, it doesn't, the good outweighs the bad, or the bad is forgivable because of the good. I guess Vita is like another example. But in the case of Rudius, the good does not outweigh the bad. The bad, in his opinion, is worse, and maybe that's because he's spoken to his future self, who was like warned him about it. But like for instance, without the man god, the most likely situation is that Rudius and Eris either would have died on the demon continent when they were transported there without Rugird's help, or Eris would have died and Rudius would have just lived on, continuing there on his own, living in the demon continent. He's capable enough. He knew how to speak the demon god tongue, you know. So should he be grateful for the man god for the life that he actually got to live? It's all because of the man god that he actually got to go back to his family and, you know, have this whole life that he currently has. Like, should he be thankful? Just like how Badigadi and Geese are kind of thankful for him, even if they might not be otherwise, you know? I don't know. It's kind of interesting a little bit.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I mean, what would you say, Ari? Should you be thankful if the overall goal is your demise?
I don't know. Probably not. I mean, I probably wouldn't be. But at the same time, it's like, for instance, in Rudy's case, it's just kind of interesting because the man god never did anything evil to him, right? It's just like the future self came and told him the bad stuff that was going to happen, but the man god never had the chance to do it. So like, I don't know. Should you be so hostile to the man god if he never actually did the stuff? Like,
but the man god does threaten him later, right?
He threatens him. He tries to,
like, the man god doesn't deny that would have happened.
Yeah, but he hasn't done anything yet. That's the thing. But yeah, you're right. It is all intentions. It's like the man god is evil. You know, he is the root of all evil in this world. But
well, not necessarily. But it's like,
yeah, There is also something we haven't mentioned. I don't know. Is this a good point? There is like I don't know how we didn't talk about this back in Turning Point 4, but there is the interaction, which is that the man god says that if I die, then the world is destroyed. And this wicked dragon god is trying to kill me. And Rudy is kind of like, that could very well be true, but I'm still siding against him because, if, like, he wants to take out my family and I want to protect them and everything. But we don't know. Like, maybe the man god is telling the truth, and maybe if he does get defeated, maybe the world will die. But it is, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, sorry, let's
that's the thing. That's the thing to be determined. I don't know, right?
Yeah.
But then I wouldn't trust anything the man god has to say, because the man god hasn't given me much reason to trust him. But
has he ever told a lie, Bacon?
That's a good point. Has he ever told a lie? Maybe, but I would say he's definitely told white lies, right?
Deceptions, he has deceived, maybe through truth. I don't know.
He doesn't have your intentions at heart, right? When he tells you stuff. So,
Yep. The man god, what a guy. So Badigadi, back to him. He was a man back in the day who was trying to expand his intelligence. Everyone else around him was an idiot, okay? His sister was an idiot. All the people in his, like, little village or whatever, they were all idiots. But he was the demon king of wisdom. He was a very different person back then. And during I think the first Human Demon War, or was it the second? I don't know, it was one of them. He was in the battles until a single human hero arrived and beat him down. Before all this. So the man god basically comes to Badigadi. He's like, okay, you can have all this strength. You can avenge your dad or whatever. And then he goes and, oh my god, Jamaican, I don't even remember the details here. Wait a minute. Let me think about this. Okay, I got it. It's all in my brain, okay? We got this, okay? I'm gonna go through this. It's gonna be so great. So, Badigadi is in a fight, okay? His dad's died. He needs to avenge his dad. And as he thinks he's about to win this fight for the demons, he's gonna break through this pathway into, I don't know where, not Azura, but where Azura was or whatever. He's gonna break into it. He is the Demon King of Wisdom. He's using his wit in this battle. He's about to win. And then this legendary hero, the Golden Knight Aldebaran, shows up. And one-sidedly defeats everyone, okay? He basically, the war is basically becoming the humans versus the demons versus this one man, the Golden Knight Aldebaran. But go ahead, Bacon, you wanted to say something?
No, exactly. I was just going to correct you on the thing you corrected yourself on.
Yes, yep. So this is like all the setup here to kind of motivate this Demon King of Wisdom to kind of get stronger or kind of want to avenge his dad here. So firstly, an interesting bit of characterization is that initially Badigadi thought of Kishirika. She was the dumbest and most foolish of all the demons, because she was a free spirit that did whatever she pleased. Whereas Badigadi, he was a thinker. He would plan things through. He wanted to avenge his dad and all this. Like, there was a whole big, he basically didn't like Kishirika at first, or thought of her as the most foolish of them all. So then, the man god intervenes and he directs Badigadi. He first gets him to drink this purple elixir that makes him invisible to the demon eyes, and then he sends him to collect the fighting god armor. And this is an armor that had been developed by Laplace, and it had a consciousness of its own, basically. Pretty crazy. So when Badigadi collects this armor at the man god's advice, he arrives back at Kishirika's side, because he was going to go and confess his love and everything. But the demonic dragon god Laplace has defeated Kishirika, and she is on the cusp of death. And he gives this line. He says, in a certain sense, the opponent was the same as Aldebaran, but not exactly. So there's a lot of implications here, and I guess stuff coming up. The first implication here is that Laplace was... he was obviously the creator of the golden armor of the Golden Knight Aldebaran. I think the implication is that he made the fighting god armor and gave it to a human who he trusted, for instance, and that became the Golden Knight Aldebaran, the human who was fighting with the fighting god armor, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. And I guess the implication is, again, that Aldebaran died, and then Laplace kind of took over the mantle and kind of fought for the human side in this human demon war. Now, another kind of maybe implication is that because demons live for such a long time, we don't know how long the journey was to kind of retrieve that armor for the fighting god armor from the man god's advice. So for all we know, it is possible that the Golden Knight Aldebaran kind of beat back Badigadi, and then Badigadi maybe spent like a few hundred years to go and get the armor, and then maybe when he came back, the Golden Knight Aldebaran, because it's just human, maybe he just died of old age. We don't know. So I kind of really like that implication. But yeah, what else? So the fighting.
I think it's key here when he puts on the armor. It has like a bloodlust to it, kind of thing.
Yeah, it has a mind of its own, basically, and it has like takes over his mind and gives him this bloodlust.
It's like the spear.
Like Laplace's spears. Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? This damn Laplace making these things. My goodness. So the fighting god armor, use the technique,
which then makes me because this is a different Laplace to the Laplace that hates humans.
This is Laplace when he is whole.
Yeah.
So yes, this isn't the same one that gave the spears to curse the superds or anything. Yep, it's a different guy. But he has very dangerous techniques, and he is very skilled. Kind of interesting. The fighting
He's got techniques to even beat himself on it, to perfectly beat himself.
He does, indeed. Wonder why. So the fighting god armor used the technique Laplace had invented, which splits Laplace in half, which is what you were saying there. Crazy. After splitting Laplace, Badigadi and the fighting god armor was in a blind bloodlust and killed Kishirika. And finally, he regained his consciousness. And Kishirika, in that moment, tells him to... she laughs and tells him to laugh no matter what. You were too serious. And that's kind of the moment that changes his life, okay? Yeah, it is very great. Yeah. It also... This is really interesting, because this stuff frames the wacky, dumb Kishirika that we've seen as this wise sage of, like, she's actually got the right path in life, you know? She doesn't care about anything. She's always laughing, you know? She's living her own life in the way that she wants to live it. And he kind of portrays her as more wise than the kind of foolish little girl that we've seen her as at this point, up till now. Kind of cool. I like this. At least through Badigadi's eyes, that's what he sees her as.
Yeah.
So even more lore stuff. Laplace was about to spread his Laplace factor all around the world, but due to being split in half, it kind of backfired, and this was all the part of the man god's plan. And he exploded. And that explosion was, firstly, got split him into the demon god and the technique god. It killed Badigadi. It killed Kishirika, most likely. I guess Badigadi also killed her. But this causes the Ringer Sea in the middle of the map. So that big ocean that split the continents, most likely the implication is that Laplace's suicide is what caused the giant crater in the middle of the world. Kind of cool. I really like that lore implication. Yep.
That's cool. I didn't catch that, but that's cool.
Yep. Then another implication is that this is a crazy implication, which is that the man god basically indirectly, by using other apostles, connected Badigadi and Rujerd, and got Badigadi to find the Supered village for Rujerd. Now, the reason I think this is so crazy is that I didn't remember this at all. So when I saw him in the anime, I was like, is this anime original stuff? But no, apparently, yeah, Badigadi and Rujerd got together here with thanks to the man god. Pretty crazy. Anyway. What have I quoted here? The thing I really like again about this, not again, for the first time, the interaction between Badigadi and the man god now in the present, is that this is like, we're seeing kind of the man god's not tactic, but basically what the man god does is that he laughs in your face when he's like kind of spoken to you and beaten you and everything. And in this case, now we have Badigadi talking to the man god, and Badigadi is laughing in the man god's face, talking about kind of like how he got past what the man god did to him, and he's like, he's a different person now and everything. And I have a quote here. He says, what goes around comes around then. The man let out a hearty laugh, mocking the god the same way the god had once mocked him. The man god looked particularly annoyed by the ridicule. Still, he had no choice but to swallow his displeasure. I'm like, this is great. The man god getting a taste of
I also noticed that with Geese as well, where Geese is like, "Hound, you need me, mate, not the other way." So.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
The man god, who, look at him, getting cornered a bit here by people. So Badigadi is tasked with collecting something deep in the ocean. So what do you think that could be, Bacon? What is he collecting? That was the big man god's task for Badigadi.
Maybe it's golden.
You think it's the golden armor? Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I just assume that's left over from his last fight. Or
I guess that makes sense.
Thing or whatever, right? Or...
Yeah, very true. Okay.
What else are we getting?
Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to see what you'd come up with. So that's a good theory. Good theory. I'd be like that.
Okay.
Yep. The man god says his future sight is kind of like a demon eye, so he can't see Badigadi's future. I think this is really interesting.
Cool.
It always takes me back. I bring this up every single time this foresight is mentioned, which is that back in the day, Rudy was given a Eye of Foresight by Kishirika. And then the man god leveraged this Eye of Foresight to show Rudy the future. And I always thought that was the coolest, like little mystery thing of like, was this all part of the man god's plan? Did he get Rudy this eye so that he could show him this moment so that he could go to like save his sister and it would all lead everywhere? I don't know. It was kind of cool implication. Anyway. Yeah, anyway, Badigadi goes from becoming the Demon King of Wisdom to the Demon King of Stupidity. And then I have one more line. This business was concluded, but with his laughter ringing in his ears, Badigadi's vision bleached to white. Wahahaha! He watched the disgusted face of the man god with great pleasure, and even as his consciousness faded, his laughter did not. Great. Anyway. Bacon, anything else for this Badigadi stuff? Which, firstly, I have to say, good. I love it. I love lore. My goodness, I've been mentioning this Golden Knight Aldebaran every single time, and now we finally get an original light novel chapter that explains the true history of it, or at least through Badigadi's vision. Yep. And with that, that's volume 23. So, anything else, volume 23, Bacon?
Nope, it's good.
All right, and with that, let's talk about volume 24. So, this starts off with, I think, Rudius talking about all the different teams of people who are going to go to different locations, Bacon, where we're setting up for this.
But hold on.
Yes?
Ari, you've started way too early.
Did I?
I need to speak. I'm opening up the front cover here. On our front cover, we've got some beautiful artwork.
Oh, wow.
And I see a beautiful face, right? I see a sexy Rudius. Man, he is charming. He is handsome.
True.
Not gonna lie, this color panel had me feeling some things, you know. Wow. I didn't actually see it when I was reading it before I skipped these pages. I'm a page skipper. But, Rudius is actually putting on you can see the ring on him. Anyway, also, guys, I want everybody to give a massive round of applause to Ari right now.
Oh, yes.
Big deal. Just want everybody a massive round of applause to Ari, because it is currently, he woke up at like 5:45 to make this content for you all, right? Double 2 days in a row, right?
Yep.
6 a.m. Now, some of you may be like, 6 a.m. I wake up that every day because I listen to Dave Goggins and Joe Rogan, and I go into my ice cold bath. But no, we gamers, we're lame like that, right? So this is a mammoth task. This is like climbing Mount Everest. Twice in a row, like each day.
It's like
2 days back
traversing the heaven continent, right? Yeah.
Oh, Ari, you've done it again. What a genius.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to break Ari's beautiful transition into making this look like a seamless, seamless no cuts.
Yeah, we're never gonna know, Bacon.
We yap so much that we run out of time, and I intend to do it again. We need a way to make him wake up on a third day in a row. Come on, folks.
True, you'll reread part of it, and you'll be like, "I have more stuff to say." And then we'll do another recording session. It'll be great.
Classic.
Yep. All right, Bacon. This volume cover, volume 24. Yep. Rudius. We got Norn. We got Cliff. EliteAri. And then we have this guy in the top right with a red gem on his head. Bacon. Who is that? Oh my god.
I don't know actually.
Yep.
He's very handsome though.
Yeah. I do have to say,
actually, unironically.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, say what?
No. You want me to say? I have to say. Okay.
Yeah.
I think Rudius looks really good in this art style. I like the way he's depicted in these volumes. It's pretty cool.
Yes.
Yep.
I was going to say, I was going to say, I feel like in the recent chapters, I feel like everybody looked a little young. And I think it's just this style of art, you know, like I feel like, oh, that's a picture of Eris. Her face still looks like she's a teenager somehow, even though I know she's 21 or something like that, right? I'm nitpicking, but like, there's something about like even Norn. I mean, to be fair, actually, Ari, I saw something today. My mom sent me like a memory thing. It's like, here you are, 10 years ago, whatever. Not to show my age, but I was like, I did the calculation. I was like 14 in these photos. And I was like, I look younger than I was 14. And I always thought I was quite like I looked, people said I looked older than I was when I was that age. They're like, oh, you look older than I think. It's very weird. So maybe it's just me. But anyway, I look at Norma, she's like 16, right? I'm just like, you don't look 16. You still look like a 10. Like in anime years, you could be like a 10-year-old, like on this front cover here.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And even with Aisha in the last chapter, because you mentioned like, oh, I didn't realize how old she was, because in my head it was this. And I was like, I can understand that, but I still thought Aisha looked kind of young. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
But not like a 5-year-old. That's the last I remember of her.
Yes, not a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
That would morally implicate us more so than Mushoku Tensei already has.
Yep.
Um,
Crazy.
I also like, I actually saw this picture beforehand of Cliff talking to someone with green hair, and for some reason I didn't clock that. I was like, oh, that's probably Rigid or someone, right? Anyway, I was like, who is this? Who's that in the front? I want to figure that out. I guess I'll find out.
Yep. All right. Well.
And then we got Doga, which is
Yes.
cool. Look at this cutie, and Chandelier. He is.
Yes.
I love his design. I think that's really cool. He's got.
I agree. He's in our thumbnail right now, Bacon. People saw him.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
Oh, you need to send me the thumbie.
Yep. I'll do it after this, but yep, pretty crazy.
Cool.
All right. So at the beginning of this volume, Bacon, there's teams. So we have a team that is preventing Geese's escape from the Bieral. Oh, also the pronunciation. I pronounce it Bieral Kingdom, but I have no idea if that's how it's.
Sounds great. Sounds very culturally appropriate, and I don't think we are Bieral.
Yep.
Birral.
All right. So preventing Geese's escape, Aisha and Lilia Persona and the mercenary company. Makes sense. You need a bunch of people to keep him from escaping. Then we have.
It's more about eyes. It's more about eyes than
Yes. Very
about
true.
a brute strength. You need to be able to cover ground.
Yep.
East can be anywhere.
We have creating a diversion by going to retrieve Nina from the Sword Sanctum, and that is Sylphie, Ghislaine, and Isolt. Fair enough. Then we have going to the capital city to gather information, and that is Zainoba, Julie, and Ginger. Then we have going to the second city, which and finding Rudyard and all that, which is Rudius. And then we have going to the third city and meeting or finding the Ogre God, I guess, and that is Eris and Roxy. So we're splitting up. Obviously, by the end of this volume, we're all converging back again. I think even Zainoba points it out. It's pretty epic. But here we are, splitting apart. So now this is when we properly meet Chandle and Doga, where Rudy's is kind of surprised. He's like, oh, I thought she was going to send, a Sword King and a Water Emperor, Isolde and Ghislaine. But no, we're getting, maybe she can't spare them, so now we're getting Chandle and Doga. Now, Chandle claims to be the strongest of the Gold Knights, or whatever he called himself, but in reality, he's more of like a Therese kind of figure, where he's a very capable commander, is the way he seems, at least, the way he's being portrayed. And Doga, I mean, we've met him before. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like he must have something up his back pocket. I feel like he's hiding this power level somehow. And I don't know why, because I feel like he would have shown it already. But
sure, yeah,
maybe he is like, but I feel like, even though he's like a Therese and he's good commander, he seems to understand people well. I really like that dynamic. I feel like surely, he uses a staff, right? It's kind of like, ooh, that's interesting. Like, why would you use a staff? Like, surely, he's going to turn into Sun Wukong. I don't know.
Maybe
something like that. Yeah,
we'll have to see. Bacon, you haven't figured out who he is yet? Not at all.
No, dude.
Yeah, that would be.
I was thinking of all the Slandors or whatever his face.
Yep. All right. Well, you'll see it next time, I'm sure. All right. So we spend some time with them, with Doga and Chandle. They head to the Ogre City, which again, another thing I don't remember. I don't think we ever go here in the web novel, but it's very possible I just forgot. I don't know what to say here. There's like a bunch of small interactions we have with them. One of them is that Chandle talks about his grandfather who wanted to be a philosopher, which I find pretty interesting, I guess. And he also, I think he wasn't aware of like what the term philosopher was, which is also kind of interesting. I don't have much to say beyond that, but kind of interesting. As they're traveling around, we learn some whispers of this forest of no return, where there's basically these invisible monsters that are attacking there. And there's like a whole lore that we learned in this Ogre Village about like not adventure party, but these people went into the forest and some of them never came back. And the one man who did come back, he said to never go in. And it's basically we're building up like what's in this forest? What are these invisible creatures? Is there anything else in there? Are the Superbirds there? Rudy has like a bunch of theories. What do you think about all this, Bacon? Were you just see straight through this and you were like, oh yeah, it's the Superbirds, they're hunting these invisible things with their red eye, or what were your thoughts on all this?
I was like, the Superbirds aren't evil.
I don't know.
All right, you expect me this whole time to believe in this Millis propaganda you're spreading?
Yes, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much you love the Pope Bacon. So
regrettable.
yeah, I guess the Pope wouldn't spread
I
this
am.
propaganda. He is very pro-demon, so
Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, good job. You saw straight through this. What else is there in this ogre place? There's a lot of information we get about them having integrated together. There's like there was some, I don't remember the details, Bacon. There was something. Okay, the ogres were like, they were really strong, but they were like bad or in a bad state or something. Then the people who saved them, and the person who saved them was like he became the king, and he vowed to like live together with the ogres or something. Yeah, he was the prince, and yep, crazy. Look at them, the ogres there living their happy lives now. Yep, well integrated.
I think one thing with the Doga and Chandle stuff, like when they turn up, is like Rudy was like, why this is so fast? Like Ariel, like almost probably, they feel like Ariel sent them before he even asked for them, if that makes sense. Like
yeah, sure.
You know, they were on the Amazon Prime delivery.
Yep.
You know,
she's a good subordinate of Orsted. You know, preparing these people for.
She's very good.
Yep.
Yeah, and every single time Rudy's like, I'm gonna have to owe her a lot later or something like that, and I'm like, interesting, very interesting.
So, very interesting indeed. Yeah, pretty crazy. I guess well, let me think. What else is there with the aerial stuff? Have they? No, I was gonna say, have they worn that like? No, the changing appearance that stuff is later. Okay. Soy sauce. Oh my god, Bacon. Here, Doga drinks poison. It turns out it's soy sauce, and Rudy's just so happy.
I love this whole scene. I love it a lot because it's like Rudy's changed into the other guy at this point, right? They've sat in this car.
Oh yes.
They've made their way to the new lands, and they're like ricketing along. Then they get out, and then they have to find information, and then Rudy's like looking around too much. And Chandle's like really quite like, I think at this point, he's not sure what to expect from him, but like, I think he's trying to get Rudy to act more normal. And Rudy's taking on the appearance of one of his mercenary folks, and then like Doga was assumed to be an ogre. That rhymes.
Yeah. Wow.
And then so she gave him some really weak stuff. But and then they talked to a guy, asked him to get a load of information for them in the next 10 days. On this thing, I really like this. It's kind of covert mission. We're like, oh, got to sneak in. Yeah, don't give away your presence, Rudy. Where's Geese? Is he there? He could be anywhere. Yeah.
There's like something, I don't know what details led to this, but there's something about Chandle that I like a lot. He's like, I don't even know how to explain it, you know? But I like him. Chandle's great. You know what it is?
He's chill.
I think it's the fact that he's always seems to be like, whenever Rudy slips up in these situations in this like ogre place, he's always there to kind of like subtly like guide him the right way, you know? I think it's like even when he's at the bar and Rudy's like accidentally like looking too hard or like trying to figure out what's going wrong and reacting, Chandle's like always there to smooth things over and make sure that nothing goes wrong. He's a subtle influence, but I like him in these chapters basically.
I think what I like about him is that he's not intimidated by Rudius's status.
Yes, that is true.
He is someone who he feels like a dad. He feels like Paul, right? I think that's another thing. He's like another Soldat, but another kind of version of it, which feels like Rudius still has stuff to learn, and he kind of figures it out, and he's here to,
Yep. So Bacon, did you know that if you drink too much soy sauce, apparently you die? That's like a thing they say. I had no idea.
I didn't ever hear about that first.
Yep.
Maybe that's not true, surely.
It's some tale that they spin in Japan, I'm sure. Yep, pretty crazy. Do you like soy sauce, Bacon?
Yeah, I like soy sauce. I'm a soy sauce guy.
Oh, wow. All right.
I wouldn't have it with everything, but it's a great source of umami flavor.
Excellent. All right, so next up, they head to the Supered Village. Well, I guess they head into the forest and there is the confrontation. They head to the forest, they get attacked by this, like, invisible thing. Doga does, like,
before that, Rudy makes the bridge.
Oh, yes, very true.
He was like, please don't kill them. Please don't die. Please don't die. They meet the old lady as well before that.
Yep.
It's good.
The bridge, it's always just so fun when people see they're amazed by Rudy's abilities with magic.
Yeah.
Like, well, look at this. He made a
It is kind of insane. I was like, are they going to get across this? Because it mentioned like 600 meters, and then he's like, at this point it's 100 meters. And I was like, oh, that's only 2 Earth pillars. Because I was keeping track in volume 22, sorry. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, they did it. They crossed. I don't know how it supported Doga's weight, but, it did.
He's a big boy.
Yep. But, they cross. They go to the bridge. They make a big bridge, I guess. They cross it. Then they head into the forest and they fight these invisible creatures. And Rude is about to. I remember the one thing that stood out is that Rude is about to use his magic, and then Doga gets in the way, and I'm like, oh my god, Doga. But not really. I guess he's just killing people.
The Doga seems not very useful.
Yeah, you know what? He pulls his weight. Okay, I'm sure he's incredibly strong. But yeah, he wasn't there with Rudy at the end when he got ambushed. Yeah. You know.
But that's also Rudy's fault.
That is, yeah, probably true. But what else is there with this? Oh yeah, then basically at the end, Rudy is he's fighting, and then suddenly Chandle rams into him and is like, "What's going on here?" And a white spear goes past his head. And it turns out that a super has saved his life by attacking this invisible creature that was about to hit him.
Chandle's got another level. If Chandler, this is the thing, right? Like Chandle, if he's noticing these things and Rudy's not, like he's clearly got perception that's pretty high. Higher than Rudy. Doga. It's hard to know.
He's not really a fighter though. Like, I mean, he is. But go ahead.
These are this is a super spirit, right? I don't know. I think super are stronger than average, right? So I feel like they're probably all saint tier at least, or maybe advanced. I'm going to put a tier list on it. Surely, I would have thought. Like,
probably their demons. They're long-lived. They got their red gems.
They live on the demon continent. You know, this guy's on patrol. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. So I imagine Chandle's pretty good, and I think he's going to be more competent than he realizes. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Then Rudy thinks that this super is Rujerd, and he yells out, he's like, "Rujerd, oh my god." And it's like, he realizes that it's not Rujerd.
Yeah, skinny teenager.
Yep. But the name of Rujerd is famous among these people, apparently, because he's like, Rujerd? And then he takes him back to the village. And Bacon, we get the grand reunion of Rudius and Rujerd. What do you think?
Amazing. I mean, I was popping off. I kind of knew it was going to be super, but then I was like, where's Rujerd? He's on the front cover. Where is he? Give him to me. And it was awesome. Like, Rujerd is there, but it's also sad because everybody's ill, and he takes him to the chief. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of really cool bits of Rujerd stuff here. And it's where we're eating good for Rujerd fans, that's for sure. So they meet Rujerd. Rujerd, what is it? They take them to the chief thing, and so Rudy still has his name on it, and Rudy somehow recognized him. I think it's with his eye through the thing, right? Yes, but he's like, "Wow, you look different," and then he takes off the ring, and then he's like, "Oh, that makes sense." Which then that's probably how Rudius is saved. Like probably when the red eyes noticed it, or I got a couple of theories on how Rudy's going to survive the ambush, but that was really cool. And then Rudius explains everything. It's interesting how many times, like now he's like before volume 19, Rudy didn't explain everything to like even his family. Now he's explaining everything to everyone. He's super transparent, which I think is interesting. He's just, and everybody's like, oh yeah, okay, the man god exists or whatever. Or did he explain the man god, or like his? Anyway.
He did. It's also interesting because Rujerd is one of the very few people who knew that Rudy was getting advice from the man god beforehand, because he told him after Turning Point 2, which is always just so fascinating to me. And he knew about the man god back then. He's like, oh, the gods of old. Oh my god, which was kind of.
And did Rujerd know who the man god was?
At least now, this is me going off my anime knowledge. I know in the anime he's surprised and he says, "Wow, the gods of old! To think that you were talking to them or whatever." Like it was kind of crazy. I mean, he could just be mistaken by who he's thinking of, but he did at least know the name back then somehow.
Interesting, but he doesn't really know anything about them. It's more like a legendary figure, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But who knows if that's in the light?
It would be the type of thing that maybe he learned from Badigadi, like ages when Badigadi went to them or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps
to the super early or something. Oh yeah, interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
So they learn. He tells Rujerd everything. But I guess firstly, before this, to me it was kind of surprising that, and I guess kind of surprising, but also makes sense that Rujerd isn't in charge of this village. For some reason, naturally I would have assumed that he would have found these people, and because he's like. He's Rujerd is like the main super we know. He'd be like the chief, or he'd be like the one in charge. Like he's really old, he's long lived, maybe he's really wise, and I'm sure he could be in charge here. But no, there's other super who've just they're more suited for that kind of role, and it's just kind of interesting to me.
Well, they're probably older than him as well, though. Right?
Yeah, also, exactly.
Like the chief is probably older than. I think it makes quite a big deal about how young all of them look, right? And Rujerd also looks very young. So yeah, they do live very long times.
Yep.
But yeah, and then we go to Rouge's house, which is super cute.
Yeah, super
Rouge's
empty.
there,
Classic Rudyard.
super empty. I love how later it's like point out how empty Rouge's is, right? Like compared to everybody else, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, these are just like normal houses with loads of small things. Like they're not barren. It's like Rouge's is just kind of weird, right? Like
Yeah.
he's different from other super.
Oh
But
yeah, he's had a tragic past.
he's still got the Migurd
Oh
charm.
yes, yep. From all the way. Oh, that charm. My goodness, Bacon. Do you remember where? Oh god, I don't even. So back in the. That's the one that Roxy gave Rudy. Oh my gosh, so cute when he was a little kid, and then he gave it to
Yeah,
the Rudyard, and here we are. It's just so cute how far it's come.
yeah.
My goodness. Yep. That's another one of those things where I'm like, oh, I'm glad they remembered this in the story. You know. Yep. Yep. Rudyard is here. Is this when I know at some point there's in a conversation with Rudy's like, oh, did you ever think about getting married? And then he's like, oh, that's probably a sore topic because he killed his
Yeah,
I think he killed his wife and his son, and Rudyard is
yeah,
not offended. Rudyard's like, oh, could I get married? And I was like, oh, yeah, interesting.
yeah. Was it like could he get married? It was kind of almost said like he didn't expect anybody to like him
Yeah,
enough for
exactly.
that. But
Yeah,
or something like that. Yeah, like
it was a bit.
he has,
It was
but it
interesting. It
did
was
seem like he
sad, I
wanted
guess.
to.
But
Yeah,
yeah, he's
I
like
think it
he's
did
open to
seem
it.
like
He just
wanted
doesn't
to.
see himself as anyone kind of liking him. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which leads me into a problematic thought I had
Okay.
is that maybe he'll end up with Norn.
Oh,
And I mean,
okay.
Mushoku Tensei is 'cause I don't know, for some reason, maybe it's just my brain is I'm in the brain rot of a shipper. But
Mm,
I was like, it felt like there was like, like, oh, maybe Rujid kind of wants it, and then I was thinking, well, Norn's here, which is awesome, right?
mm,
And it's very much a father-daughter relationship.
mm.
But maybe because it's also been made of like who will Norn marry, and it doesn't seem like it's gonna
Has
be any
that been
of.
a thing? I know it has been a thing with Aisha. I guess it has
Yeah,
also been with
but
Nolan.
because we
They
assume
have
with Norn
hinted
and
at
she's got
it. Yeah.
all her like lackeys in the background and stuff. So
Yeah, that is true.
maybe
Yeah.
I don't want to call them lackeys, sorry, her fan group or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it's
Maybe on a less
possible.
problematic note, I would say it's more likely that Norn would stay behind afterwards and hang out here because she's graduated now, right? That's a big thing. They
Yes.
really missed her graduation.
Yeah, that was mixed
Yeah, it feels
feelings.
like a complicated time and stuff is happening. So yeah, it kind of made sense in my head. I won't put it past Mushoku Tensei to
Hmm.
do something like that.
A very
So
interesting theory, Bacon. We'll have to see, I guess. Who? What?
classic Ari,
Let's track all
classic
your
Ari.
ships. Who are we shipping
Oh,
at the
we'll
moment?
see. We'll see. Bacon. Oh, I don't
Yep.
know.
Well, we got Luke and Therese, right?
Yep.
Who else have we got? Zainoba and Ginger, of course, right?
Yes, classic.
Yep.
But
And
it almost seems
then
like going to
yeah.
be Sonoba and Julie at this point, which I'm like, oh no, not Mushoku
that
Tensei.
Rudius keeps bringing it up, and he keeps being like, I
Yeah,
don't think either of them really want it, but I mean, I want it. Is I don't even know that he's not really saying that, but he keeps bringing it up, which is pretty crazy.
he
Yep.
wild.
Yep. All right. Crazy ships. The what is next? The Superd. Oh yeah, so it's a small thing, but the Superd settled in this village because there's a bunch of invisible monsters and no one else can see them. But to the Superd, it's just like, oh, they're like any other monsters because they just use their red eye and they can see them easily. Nice, cool lore reason for them to be here.
Yeah.
The talking about Rudyard's house. We talked about it from thinking about how it characterizes Rudyard, but it also characterizes Rudy here. He has like a little speech he gives internally about how at one point this wouldn't have bothered him at all. Like he would be like, "Oh yeah, it's an empty house. Who cares?" But now thinking about how full his house is and how every room is like decorated in a different way because someone new lives in it. How sad he would be if the house like suddenly became empty. It's like a painful thought to him now. But back in the day, he wouldn't have cared. And small bit of
Yeah, I
reflection
missed
and
that.
yeah, seeing
That's
how
pretty
like he really does appreciate how many people are in his life and how he's not lonely anymore like he used to be back in this other world. Good for him. So oh yeah, so we briefly mentioned Rudy telling Rudyard everything, but this is another bit of conversation, I guess, between Rudy and Rudyard where Rudyard doesn't react much. Okay, he's in classic Rudyard fashion. He like Rudy tells Rudyard about Paul's death, and Rudyard like his eyes like get a little darker, but he doesn't say anything. And I guess the explanation is that like because Rudy didn't kind of say anything, Rudyard didn't say anything back, and but we don't get many reactions, and this is like the typical Rudyard way. But the one thing he does ask about is when Eris gets brought up, he's like, "Oh, did she catch the warrior bug?" And Rudy's like, "Yep, I guess." So yeah,
He was happy when they got married.
true. He's happy, and he's also when Rudy says he has 3 wives, he's like, "Oh, typical Rudius. That's what I was expecting." So yeah,
Really, yeah.
yeah, he says something like that.
Yeah, I did remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. But then Bacon, we have our good times with Rudyard, but then Rudyard takes us out into this really far away place, and he reveals the truth that actually we're all still sick. I didn't find a medicine. The Abyssal King Vita has possessed me and has slowed down the sickness, the progression, but we still have the plague. So yes, this again, I like to make my comparison between my 2 reading experiences. I have to say, this Abyssal King Vita stuff, I think it was quite poorly translated when I first read the web novel. I didn't really understand what they were saying. I don't even remember. It definitely wasn't Abyssal King. It was like Slime King Vita or something. It was really strange, whatever his name was. It didn't make much sense, but
was it PS Vita?
No, Bacon, but wouldn't that be something? Great, well done. Okay. What a joke. Okay. Yep.
That's what you come here for.
Yep. So Bacon, this is all part of Geese's plan. So Geese, one day out of the nowhere, arrived in front of Rudyard and gave him Vita and said that I'll give you this, but please help me in this upcoming battle in this country. And I guess the implication there is that if he doesn't help him, then eventually Vita will go away and the disease will come back. So Rudyard is forced to fight Rudius.
Did Rudyard know that Rudius was his enemy?
So up until this point, when he's telling the story, he didn't know.
Now Rudyard knows.
Now he knows because he told him about Geese and everything. Yeah, he didn't know back then. He was like, "Of course, yeah, I'll help you with the fight." But yeah, he didn't know that Rudy was his enemy, and they have this whole conversation here about. Well, I guess Rudyard basically says,
if Rudy can heal him, Rudy can heal him, would you join him? And Rudyard's like, "Of course."
Yeah.
Pretty interesting because I almost thought he wouldn't for some reason, but he does. And I was pogging off. I was like, "Yeah, Rudyard, that's what we love."
Yep.
And then Rudyard quickly goes in for a kiss, and I was like, "Oh, hello, this is what I was waiting for."
Yeah.
Man, this is when I was quoting Yu-Gi-Oh, and I was like, "I wish it was me, not him, me."
Is that a Yu-Gi-Oh reference? I don't even know
it's
that.
from the dub.
Oh wow! Okay.
And so and by me I meant I wish I was Rudius. Very few times in this story experience, so I wish I was Rudius because I'm not an incel.
Of course.
Isekai fan. No,
yes.
But this time I was like, boys, line me up.
The handsome Rudyard.
I'm not gay though. It was a very platonic kiss.
I mean, it's Rudyard, It's just
Exactly. Very, very manly.
Yep.
Very wholesome.
Yep.
Very
and with the glowing red gem.
Yep. Yes. Exactly.
All right.
But yeah, no, this was crazy. What was I gonna say? I was like, what's going on? He's coming in, and his thing's blue. What's happening? And then it goes. I would say this is really cool. I feel like this can be done in a really cool way.
Well, did you ever think that he was going to be... Because they say, Rudyard is possessed. Did you ever think, this is going to be Rudyard? Is the twist here? Rudyard's going to be the villain of this arc.
I did have a little doubt, but I think, But then Rudy gets, possessed as well. And I was like, what are we doing from here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this is just... this is really awesome. I think this is really cool because it's... I think what I like about these books a lot... these particular volumes is how backwards looking it is, and it's kind of look how far we have come, with particularly the Soldat and the Sarah stuff. It's really phenomenal, and we spend time on Rudy's relationships with each of his wives, right?
Yes.
But then we kind of then wake up and it's like, hang on, it's Sarah here and all this stuff, right? And it's very much I'm not sure they're the same age, but it's like it's like a different life. What could have been?
Yeah.
And it's a very happy one. There's no regrets, and it's a fun way to see them interact with each other differently. The Sarah one is maybe one of the less interesting ones because they already have quite a fun dynamic, and it's kind of similar, I guess. I say less interesting. There's just compared to, I say actually Lilia's and Ariel's. which I thought was
Yes.
probably the most
I
interesting
think
ones.
it probably would have been more interesting if we say, for instance, if we never met Sarah after Volume 7, and then we get to this bit, and it's like, oh, now he's with Sarah,
Yes.
but we have seen her, and we've caught up with her, and we're like, kind of, we've come to peace with all that. So at this point, it's like, oh,
Yes.
it's interesting, but
But I don't want that this should take. I don't want that to be like interpreted for me. Like I definitely think those Sarah scenes should exist, right? Like the fact that
yes, I
I don't
agree.
think this being a little bit more interesting. It's just like less interesting relative to the other stuff because
Yeah.
I feel like there's less of a deep dive on what would happen here and how they actually perceive each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think yeah. So here and then Paul turns up, and then
Yeah, the
this
ghost
is like
of
recurring
Paul.
thing.
Yeah.
The ghost of Paul. I think it's awesome.
I
'Cause,
also
like
think it's
initially you're
awesome. Yeah,
like
go ahead, yeah.
initially because I'm thinking, oh, Paul turned up. Okay, this is an interesting theory because like I guess like that means like in different instances like oh Paul's here because like in the timeline different things happened to Paul if Rudy changed differently. So this is the one where Paul was successful, I think.
I think so. I don't remember, but I think so.
Yes, I think this is the one where Paul's successful.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then yeah, and then he's like always eventually is like oh I don't have my thing or whatever, and he kind of knocks himself out of it. And I do love that it's Paul that does this. I know, like,
Yeah.
the only other character I expect them to do this would maybe be Soldat.
Yeah, sure.
But I do feel like with Paul, there is something there that like we get a very few scenes where Paul and Rudy get to be like father and son grown up together. I remember there's that great one with him and Lilia before they go into the dungeon. That's like a phenomenal one. And
Yeah.
it's one of those things. Despite the series being as long as it is, you always have to take what you can while you have it, right? Like in
Yeah.
terms of interactions, because that may be the last one. Like, and yeah, it's like fan service, but in a really meaningful way.
Yeah.
All of this stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to add on the Sarah stuff particularly, but or the Paul stuff.
On the Paul stuff, I would say Paul feels like a very good character to have this role of this like recurring ghost who is always like pulling Rudy out of these delusions. Because it's like Paul was always, how do I even say this? He's like a very it's I know there's something in my head I'm trying to explain. Paul is he's very open with Rudius the way he speaks to him. He's always kind of jokey with him in a way. What I mean is that, like, for instance, in all these like versions of reality where Rudy realizes that Paul's lower half is missing, the way I interpret it is that Paul is kind of he's kind of joking toward Rudius and being like, "Didn't you realize that my lower half is missing?" But he's saying that in like a joking kind of way, where he's like,
He's very
"Isn't
coy
it
about
obvious?" Yeah, he's like, "Isn't it obvious, Rudius?
Yes.
Like, look at me." I just feel like that's a perfect role for Paul. I don't quite know how to explain it, but yep, Paul was great in this basically. Yep. Anyway, that's it. I don't know much to say with Paul stuff, but
yeah. What else?
next up is Lilia.
Yeah, and then yes. And so this happens. So the first one happens because if Rudy didn't have his erectile dysfunction, and that night went off seamlessly. This one happens if he didn't show self-restraint when he like tied them both up. I think
Hey,
initially
is that the implication?
Like,
I don't remember that, but it's very possible.
I feel like he's like basically he falls in love with them before he meets Fitz, and eventually Lilia cures him of his ED.
Yes.
And likewise, Lilia loses to the fight again, and so she stays. And I think it's interesting. Like, I think it's interesting because I think the implication is that, at least in this one, it's like Sophie sees them with other girls and assumes that like, oh, he's forgotten her, and then just never tries. If that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
And it kind of like you close off that path. Like it feels like it's actually not. I think what's harrowing about this is it's actually not that far off.
Yeah.
It's like it feels like we like, despite these not being actual turning points, these are all turning points that aren't called turning point. You know.
Yes.
And very meaningful. And I think there's interesting stuff here. Like they have a ton of kids.
Yeah.
They only have sex when she's in heat and stuff like that. And then I think the interesting other thing with Paul here is this is when Paul fails and eventually has to come crawling back to Rudius. So it feels like this one feels like maybe the second or most toxic one.
Sure.
Yeah, something like that.
Yep. Okay. I don't have much to say on. There's only one of these visions, or two of them, that I have interesting things to say about. This is not one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Interesting. All right. What else is there? Next up is Ariel. This is one of the more interesting ones,
Yeah,
I think, where Rudy is the king. Oh my god, Bacon! What a strange reality for this to be. What do you think about this?
I thought this one was a bit more sad. Actually, I thought this was
Hmm.
quite a sad one
For
because
Ariel, or
no, for Rudy,
huh? Okay.
because it almost is sad for Ariel as well because it kind of shows how she relates stuff.
Okay.
But it feels like Rudy in this situation, he is never able to truly know if she loves him, right?
Yes. Yep.
And Rudy's overthinking brain, like, kind of like stops him from thinking about it because there's so many mind games going on. And I think that's almost a reflection on Ariel because it makes me question if she has any real relationships. And I guess she does. She has a real relationship with Luke, but it's weird, right? That she
Mm.
still plays mind games with Luke because we know like she was trying to suss out Luke before, right?
Yeah.
Back in volume 17.
Yep.
And then I guess with I think the interesting thing is that Ariel also cures his ED with the love potion.
Yep.
Um, and there's no mention of Sophie at all, which I think is interesting. I mean, I don't know how much to read into that because it's probably just like the consciousness could have really thought of Sophie, he'd be like, "Can why am I not with her?" Right.
Yep.
But
I
yeah,
guess I've always, I don't know why I thought this, and maybe there's like something that hints at this, but I always thought that these realities were also where the teleportation incident never happened. But doesn't make sense because like Paul is in the teleportation labyrinth and everything. But I don't know. That's just what went through my mind.
yeah.
Yep, crazy. Ariel and Rudy. I truly, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Anything else for this
Mm.
Bacon? Next one is the more interesting one, I guess. Aisha, crazy. We referenced this before, but um what could we say, Bacon? It's strange. It's
Yeah.
yep, that's basically it. The Bacon. Then we have the one that I find the best, okay? And obviously it's the best because it's the most emotional, and it's the one where Zenith is alive, okay? Zenith is the one who is living with Rudius instead of Paul.
So
Um,
is so there's the one. So this one with Aisha isn't the one with Zenith in it.
no, no, no. So wait, there's the Ariel one, and then there's the Aisha one where he marries Aisha.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
and
and
then there's a
who's
separate
around in
one.
that one?
I don't even
So
remember.
is it
I
how does that Aisha one go? I
have a
thought it was
quick read if you want, Bacon. I don't know.
sorry. Yeah, it was be around about halfway through, right? A bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my word. Okay, I just read a gut punching line, but
Yeah, what
but
is it?
yeah. No, we'll get to that one later.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay.
This is for the
I do have a
one. So
quote in the next one.
Ariel, we're here. Surrounded in my room, large in Sharia, Magic City. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't think. I think they are together. No. I'm wrong. Sorry. The Aisha one was
Okay.
very quick. This is no dot dot dot.
Yeah. Well, it's probably the most jokey, I guess, of the pairings because it's not very realistic. But it is also at the same time the
Oh,
thing that
yeah.
has
This
been
one's
teased this
really
whole
quick.
time.
This
But
is why I blended them together because it's like not even half. It's like barely half a page.
oh, you know what I remembered,
Oh,
Bacon?
so
It's all about the
yeah,
thing you always bring up when it comes to Aisha and Rudy's relationship about the bath when they're having a bath together. But this time, Rudy, when they were having a bath, it was too much for him, and he went too
yeah,
far, and that's how they got together. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of crazy.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Anything else? Should we continue
yeah.
on?
That one Aisha one was a bit weird, but anyway, I've got anyway. Yeah, the next one is the Zenith one,
Yep. So it's
and
Zenith,
then he talks to Paul.
the two kids,
Yeah,
and Rudy. Well, I guess the three kids all living together.
yeah.
In a situation where I think Paul died or is no longer with them, and it's just these four living together. Um,
Yeah.
what an what a cute little thing. Um, it's like at this point, Rudy also realizes that he's in a dream, but like is trying to push it
Hmm.
away because he doesn't want to kill Zenith. Basically, he's kind of happy with this life. Like he definitely would have been happy if this was the reality that he was in. But yeah, Bacon. I have the line here. This is my. Oh, it's not really a line. It's like a quote I have. This I teared up reading this, Bacon, and I couldn't believe it because this stuff was like I said before in the web novel. I was like, I don't know what's going on, and I don't like this really that much. But here I was tearing up. And it says. Through the blessed child, I could even ask her for advice when Sylphie was in a foul mood and Roxy was sulking, or Eris blew up at me. Zenith couldn't smile anymore, but I knew that she'd be overjoyed to give me advice. So this was over. This dream I'd wanted to stay submerged in forever. This dream of a cheerful and kind Zenith. I faced Zenith, reached out and touched my face. Thanks for everything, Mum. I was like, oh, this is so sad,
You forgot the
but also
line
so
though. The next
happy.
line is, "Then I fired a full power stone cannon at her."
Yes.
Yeah, that was. Yes, it's just good. It's all good writing on the page because it's like thanks for everything, mom, and then it's like just one line, and you're like, oof,
Yeah.
like yeah, no, it's tough. I feel like this is something that hits here when they animate it. I feel like oh,
Yeah.
they can do a lot of stuff. I feel like just like I imagine almost like the stillness, no music in the scene.
Yep.
Just kind of just lets you slow down. Yeah.
Yep. This is
So
again, this is, I always say this every time we get little bits of Zenith. But again, we get Zenith characterization here.
Yeah.
Where she's, oh, I don't know how to, she's just so,
she's trying to marry
yeah,
Rudy.
she's trying to
she's
like,
doing what her mum would do, which is interesting. You know, like she's doing what Claire would do.
yeah, but in a kind of way. Okay.
Yeah, of course, right. But yeah, so the influence.
But it's just so it's, I think I've said this before. The tragedy of Zenith, like just what happened to her, is just so sad to me. Like, firstly, it was a complete freak accident. No fault of her own, nothing. It just happens. She gets teleported into a random labyrinth, and she is never the same again. It's just so, and just to see how much life she had, like how overjoyed she always was, and how I don't know, she was just always so cheerful and bright. And these days she, you know, every now and then she smiles, but that's really all there is to her outward expression. And just to see the contrast of how she is today to how she used to be, at least in Rudy's memories here, is so, it always just gets to me. I don't know why. Zenith, yeah, it's the Zenith story, and the fact that she just, at least so far up to this point, she's never, there is no healing her. It's like, she is the way she is. Obviously she can still communicate and she still lives a happy life, and but she's not the same as she was, and she never will be. It's always just so, it just gets to me. I think I even talked about this when we were talking about the anime at some point, and I think I lightly spoiled that she'll never get better, but yeah, always gets to me. Anyway.
Yeah. And yeah, this is what I mean by like, it's good, quote unquote, fan service. Like,
yeah,
you know, it's just like good. I think, okay, so the most interesting thing here, I actually thought was not who was in these dreams, but who wasn't.
Okay, sure.
Because the whole idea with Vita is that he's trying to, you know, they're like, here's all the women you could have been with, and then here's Zenith, like as his final trump card, right?
Yep.
But I think it's interesting that Nanahoshi is not in here.
Interesting.
I think that's an interesting omission, which should tell you a lot about Rudy's character. Which yeah.
So what do you?
Where it is?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like talked about like how he would never actually consider having a relationship with Nanahoshi, which I think is interesting because that was something I teased early on, like what Sylphie was like worried about that.
Yep.
But it's like in his mind here, he never really like he's more likely to be with his daughter. No, not daughter, with his sister than with Nanahoshi, who's Japanese, which is almost like a complete rejection of Japan and his prior life. Almost.
Yes, I completely agree.
You would suppose that, you know, they get along. They could speak Japanese to each other. They could still like, you know, enjoy soy sauce together. Like he's like thinking, oh, we're gonna take the soy sauce and rice back. We're gonna, you know, like he still loves parts of Japan, right? Of course.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yeah, I do agree. Like it is, it's not, because obviously Rudy likes Nanahoshi, right? Like they're good friends and everything, and I'm sure she's a very comforting presence in a world where no one else really knows this side of him. But at the same time, he probably has a very strange relationship because he knew her in his old life, right? Like I didn't know her like actually, but like he like interacted with her and like ran into her and saved her, and he knows like the context of what she was in, and it's got to be different. It's like I don't even know how to say it. It's like he views her as, I don't know, he kind of just views her as someone from his previous life, I guess, and not someone in this new, like he would want to move forward, I guess, rather than, it's not even that. It's not that he would want to move forward and like have a life with someone in this world. It's just like, he would just view her as not even an option, because it's like, I knew her back when I was someone else. I don't quite know how to say it. It'd be similar to kind of maybe the Rudius thing. Not in like, obviously the Rudius thing, the Sarah thing, where it's like, I was a different person back then when I was with you because I was in a different mental state. Kind of similar to that with Nanahoshi, but not because he like loved her back in the other world or anything, because they briefly interacted.
Yeah.
To be like, I was a different person back then when we first, like, when I think about having met you initially, and it's just like a strange feeling which he would never overcome. That's kind of how I take it, but I don't know, it's a bit strange, but yep. Anyway,
are there any other missions that we think are interesting?
What'd you say? Missions?
Omissions.
Oh, omissions. Let's see. I am sure there's a bunch. Who were some interesting characters over the years? I guess EliteAri is kind of, I would have expected something there with her.
Yes, I think I skipped ahead at some point. I assumed a Lion Lies was instead of Zenith or maybe something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, like I misread. I was like, oh, is this Lion Lies here? But then I got it.
Mm-hmm. But no, I think that's the main one. I would say.
Yeah.
Yep, that's basically it. Anything else, Bacon? Should we talk about the unraveling of this dream?
Yes.
So the Death God's ring saves Rudius, and really interestingly, Rudy has a scene chatting with the Abyssal King Vita, and he's kind of the interesting thing is that he's just like calmly like accepted his fate. He's just like there talking to Rudy. He's like, "Ah, you got me in the end with this damn ring," and he's not like trying to get one final attack on him, or he's not really angry at him or anything. He's just like kind of accepted it and is talking to Rudy. I found that really interesting. This elevated my appreciation of Abyssal King Vita more than I ever would have expected. But yep, that's the end of the dream stuff, Bacon.
I think so. Yeah, so what happens is that he wears this ring, and this has a skeleton in there that, like, is part of the killing of Vita or whatever.
Yes, it's like sitting next to him or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And initially, he's like, "Is that Paul?" I was like, "No, it's not Paul."
Yeah, but that's like the hunter that was trying to kill him, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, basically, it suggests that Orsted he knew he knew that like he knew what this ring would do. He's like, oh, just keep that on you just in case. Like he didn't. And anyway, it's interesting how this leads into. It's like, oh, did he know that this was what's happening? But he didn't actually. So
it was like an insurance, but he didn't quite know what for.
Yeah.
But I guess we can talk about this now a little bit. While we're just talking about King Vita, but we do get a demon King Vita, or whatever, Abyssal King Vita. We get a backstory chapter of him, which of course it's original to the light novel. Okay. I thought this was really cool. It's like this again. It's like it's the story of how someone became acquainted with the man god. This time it was this slime guy. Actually, before we talk about this, what does it look like to you? What do you picture in your head when you think of Abyssal King Vita? Do you have an image of him in your head, like
dark slime?
But what does that mean? What is a slime like in your head? Like, what does that look like?
Like
a round blob, or
yeah, like a drop of water on the ground, but that's more gooey. I'm not thinking of like the dragon. The dragon.
The dragon?
I'm not thinking of Dragon Quest slime.
I didn't
the
know
classic
what that looks
slime.
Like.
It's like the quintessential slime. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking of like a goop.
Like that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Yes, like that slime.
Yep, interesting. I guess in my head, I picture him as like obviously the same material as like a jelly kind of material, but like an octopus kind of. I don't know why. Like he has like a bunch of arms or something. I don't think that's how they describe him at all, but that's just in my head for some reason. But yep.
Yeah.
It's a slime. Or, as this backstory chapter calls them, they call them stickies. There's a strange translation. I don't know why they started doing that, but there's some strange translation choices in this damn light novel series, that's for sure. But yep, he was a slime, and one day he dived into a pile of water. He was like, oh my gosh, water. And then he like got dissolved all the way to his core, and the man god saved him. And from then onwards, he was like in debt to the man god, basically. But the gist of this backstory is that the previous death god was relentless and was, I guess at first we didn't say, I think Vita went on after the man god saved him and became this like crazy, he was killing a bunch of people or something, right? Did you remember that, or am I just making that up? I'm pretty sure that was a thing.
He was like taking over a bunch of people one by one.
Yeah. And then the death god started pursuing him relentlessly. It's pretty crazy. And the fact that he was so relentless in his attacks, and he was so crazy and attacked him everywhere. He destroyed King Vita's village and killed all of the stickies or the slimes. Pretty crazy. And eventually he wins, like through this ring. Is also pretty funny to think about. Like completely almost unintentionally, but he kills Vita in the end. So that's like the wrap up of the story. Just by Rudius wearing this ring. It's pretty crazy. But the most interesting thing here is that it does characterize that final scene with Vita, where he's talking calmly to Rudius about like accepting death and defeat. It characterizes or colors it differently because in this case we get insight that Vita When the man god tasked him with like wiping out this superb village or kind of taking them over or anything, he thought back to when his own village was destroyed of the stickies that he was with. And he decided in that moment that he was going to, even if he had to take over the superb, he was going to heal them first. Like his plan was, if I'm going to take them over, I'm going to fix this illness of theirs. And then from there, we'll see what happens. But that was at least the least I can do. So it kind of characterizes him as not necessarily a villain here, but like a tragic character where he's like, he was manipulated by the man god. He felt like he owed him, but he did the best he could, regardless of the depth of the man god, to try and do the good stuff he could with the opportunity he had, this was really neat. It really upped my appreciation of Vita in a way that I just never once considered him as any. I think even in my tier list, I put him as like a S, or not an S, like I don't even remember tier, like an F tier or something. But yeah, it's pretty great. Yep. Yep. Any strong?
Yeah, I don't know more to say, but it's no. I mean, it's just cool. Like, it's an awesome sequence. I really enjoyed it. It's this new thing for this, but yeah.
All right, Bacon. So now back to the chronology here. After the dream sequence with Vita, now we learn a little bit about Orsted. We have an interaction here with Rudius, where Orsted, we basically find out that Orsted had hid this superb village from Rudius because his idea or way of thinking, which is almost certainly true, is that if he had told Rudius 2 years ago when he first found out about this superb village and what was going on there with the illness, Rudius definitely would have he basically dedicated all of his life at that point to saving them. And it would have been a big diversion, and he would have wasted a lot of time and eventually not being able to save them, is basically Orsted's rationale here for not telling Rudius about it. Orsted showed up, he tried all that he could, he tried all his different methods, and he concluded that it was incurable. There is no way to solve this superb illness. So yeah, it's like this is the most, ever since volume 15, this is the most confrontational scene we ever have between Rudius and Brujerd till now. Sorry, not Brujerd, Rudius and Orsted. Orsted is kind of apologetic, I think. He apologizes for it. Yep. What do you think about this, Bacon? There's a lot more Orsted stuff here in these volumes, basically.
Yeah, we kind of remarked on it earlier, and I think we kind of talked about it earlier. I think there's this whole thing going on here with Orsted, and I think here it's very much like these guys are like Orsted. Initially it's framed like, oh yeah, he turned up, but he didn't do anything, and he left. And you're like, what's going on with Orsted here? And you're like, did he not do this or whatever? And did Orsted tell him about that ring so he could survive, or whatever? And Orsted didn't know about he was like, oh yeah, I didn't know. I think he knew that Vita would work, they would defeat Vita or something like that, right? If he came into it, but I didn't think he knew that they were possessed by Vita, whatever. Yeah, there's so many small things here, and I think Rudius goes back, right, and he barges in, and
yes,
Rudius is very reasonable here, but I think. You make it seem I think is very clear that Orsted is very apologetic. It's made clear early on that Orsted is uncomfortable about something. He's hiding something from Rudius.
Yes.
Something's wrong, but he doesn't really want to say it. And then he talks about various things. But here he is very sorry to Rudius, and Rudius says, "I will forgive you this one time," and Orsted doesn't get indignant about it. He doesn't even. He takes it seriously. He says, "Thank you very much." He realizes that what he's done. Both of them know what has been done, and there's nothing they can do about it. And really understands Orsted's correct assumptions, right? But that doesn't take away what he's done. So yeah, it was a very mature but also impactful confrontation. I think it was very genuine. I think it shows this. Even though they're not friends, they are friends, if that makes sense. This is, yeah.
Yep.
And it shows that I think so far we've assumed Orsted's just focused on his goal. That's what he'll do, so on and so forth. But he's not, right? So it shows that he does care about Rudius a lot and his family. So yeah.
Interesting. Okay. But talking about Orsted's goal here, we get a little bit of conversation here where Rudius is trying to rationalize, how can this tie into the fight with the man god? Surely I can justify Orsted's actions this way. And he talks about how Laplace, when he is reincarnated or resurrected, he will be immortal. And only a superherd will be able to find his weakness and deal the killing blow. So that's why it's important that the superherd village lives, because I think he said Ruger's do you remember what he said here? Something about Rugerd would like have someone would be important. God, I'm trying to remember.
Okay, so what I thought was crazy, and maybe this is not what you're saying, but what I thought was crazy, which is I did a callback to here where the man god had planned out beforehand to get Rugerd out of the demon continent to then find his family home, so all of them would die at the same time.
Yes, the man god's vision. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah, how it's crazy to think about how far back the man god has set things up this to be the way that it is. Yeah. It's, I think, one of the interesting aspects of the man god to me. Like, for instance, again, like the fact that when he, in Turning Point 4, tells Rudy to just open up the basement, and that's all you have to do, just open the door. And then I think he said that this will be a thing that'll be important like 20 years from now, and it'll be like something that will happen then. And it's like, oh, he's really forward thinking with all these little small strategic things he's making. And this was definitely one of them, setting him up with Rugerd back in the day. So, yep.
Yes, because I think it's one of the few points where you're like, Hound, why did he get, like, it was the first time we met the man god, and it was the last reveal of the man god and why it happened, because every other thing I think from the man god has been explained why that would happen. So
yep.
Yeah, which is interesting.
Anyway, crazy. What else was there? Orsted. Oh yeah, so now Orsted has ever since Orsted basically realized that at the moment of Laplace's birth, Laplace isn't immortal in that moment. He's realized that he doesn't need the superherd anymore. Like they're very helpful, but he doesn't actually need them to do the killing blow anymore. He also now in this current like timeline, he plans to just use his God Blade, which is like that thing he used against Rudius, the glowing like white like sword he used. And he's gonna take the mana hit, but he can take out Laplace himself if he decides to draw out that blade, basically. Yeah, kind of interesting. Yep. But that's the Orsted conversation. The next stuff here in this volume is Norn, Cliff, and EliteAri. They arrive in the Superherd Village. And Bacon, this is some of the best stuff in this volume. My goodness. I don't know why I was so emotional reading this stuff. I don't know why. I guess I kind of know why, because it's all because of Cliff. Cliff is just so good. He's barging in here. He's being his Cliff self. Yes, go ahead.
Ari.
Did I forget something?
Ari.
Uh-oh.
Hold on a second. You're going to have to edit out some of these things while I quickly try and find the page again.
No, go ahead.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I have a quote I can read out if you want to search for it.
No. This. All right. Rudius, Cliff Gilmore. I'm sorry it took me so long to get here. It took a while to get through all the necessary procedures. The Miller's Church isn't a monolith. You'll have to forgive me. He'd come. He'd read the message I sent on the contact tablet and immediately tried to get here for me. Now I'm here, he went on. It's going to be okay. Times like this is why I studied healing magic. But Cliff, yes, I know. They told me everything, but I have this, he said, tapping his eye beneath his eye patch. It was the demon eye he got from Kishirika, the eye of identification. This can be sorted out with the demon eye. A demon eye might not be enough. Just remember, I botched this line. A demon eye might not be enough. Just remember, the one who's using it is me, Cliff said. I am a genius. And here, at this point, I'm sitting in my bed. My fist is raised. This is, you don't get this. This is actually maybe my favorite point in the manga. In the light novel. It may be just that good.
It is so good.
At this point, I'm in despair. Not because I've kind of forgotten that Cliff and EliteAri is going to come up, but I'm like, hang on. Orsted, he's got us out of every situation so far. And like, okay, Cliff, if he gets here, sure, he'll do something, but I don't know what he can do, right? But then he points at his eye patch, and you're thinking to himself, oh boy, he's coming in.
Yep, he can do it. He'll find a way.
He can do it. He's got the OP hacks. He knows what he's doing. Yep. And he comes in and he says, I'm a genius because I am. Yep. And at this point, the fools Cliff has talked so much about, I've been humbled, right? But at the end of the day, we know what that means. We know what the genius is. It's to power himself up, and it powered me up to go even further beyond, because I knew always say Richard is going to survive. He's not going to just die as soon as we beat him again. Yep. It's going to be the greatest thing of all time. Oh my word, what a moment. It was amazing.
Completely agree.
It was so good.
My goodness.
And also the fact that it has the panel, it has the page there. I don't know why. It was just like, I'm a genius. It is the best quote. It is so good. Oh,
I
unbelievable.
completely agree. And you know what? My quote that I chose is right after that as well. It says, maybe he said it to reassure Norn, who was crying her eyes out. Maybe he said it to reassure me in exhaustion. He might have been nervous, needing a rallying cry for himself. Whatever it was, Cliff seemed to stand taller after those words. That he could talk so confidently at a time like this, he was a giant. And I was like, oh my goodness. He
Had
truly
Cliff
is.
looked, yeah, this like, had Cliff ever looked so tall this day
Yep.
before today? He had twice my height already. Cliff was here. Cliff was the one who could even break curses.
Yep.
Nothing is impossible for a genius, he said. Leave it to me.
It's so good.
Yeah, I was literally pumping there at this point. I was a very happy boy. I was like,
Absolutely.
I don't know, Cliff, I've been waiting for this moment for Cliff, right? You know, like I feel like like intellectually, I've loved Cliff. I've been like, Cliff's cool. I like Cliff.
Yep.
But here I'm like, oh, base Cliff, King, we love you. Bow down.
Yep. And there's like, it's so good as well. Like what he the way he acts after this scene is so good as well, because he's like, clearly the super hate him because he's from Millis, but he doesn't care. He's not even paying any attention to it.
He doesn't care.
He's gonna save them no matter what. Okay, it doesn't matter what they think of him. He's gonna do it.
Yeah,
and he's gonna do it wearing his Millis robes. Okay, so that it saves the reputation of Millis as well. My goodness, what a guy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I think what I love is that it's like so pure Cliff.
Yes.
And it's so good. Like, I think one thing I can't commend Mushoku Tensei enough is like how he reveals new stuff about the characters or uses characters in a way that feels like, to me, it makes perfect sense. Never once I've been, ooh, that feels a bit out of character. Like, and I'm not one of those people who necessarily gets hung up on this stuff. I more see it as like, oh, this is new information about them. But here, but yeah, it's amazing. I just love how it's like, this is the most Cliff thing ever. I think I've said it with Eris as well. This is the most Eris thing ever. You can't get, but it's perfect. You know, like I said it last time, I think about like, yeah, Sophie's back home. She said she'll protect the house or whatever. Yeah.
Yep. Well, Bacon, sorry, earlier in this discussion, you know, yesterday technically, I did point out that there's like one chapter title I really like, and it's absolutely this. It's chapter 7, The Genius. And I was like, this is so great. What a title for a chapter. But yep, let's see. What else do I have to have in my notes here? It's a tangent here, but a small thing where we get like a perspective of Cliff's eye of identification, and we find out the implication here.
We've had that before, by the way.
Have we? Oh yeah, we've got a brief thing here, but now we actually learned that it's a very casual kind of way of speaking. It says a tasty looking tomato packed full of highly. Though. Have we actually? Because I don't remember.
Yeah, I think we've had it before. But yeah, anyway, go on. It is funny. I forgot about this. That he's very casual.
Yep. I guess the implication here is that it's literally Kishirika's notes, like as she has identified things over her long life. That's the way I interpreted it. Like it's Kishirika speaking.
That's amazing.
Like as she sees something, she like notes it down, and like this is like the eye that she sees it through, and it's like kind of funny.
When okay, so the place where we see it used before is in the Banshee chapter. No, whatever. The one where he helps Norn kill the ghost.
The worst Mushoku Tensei chapter ever. True.
Unbelievable.
My goodness. No wonder I didn't
remember. Just took away something of your favorite point that you just made. So how about that, Ari?
Goddamn. But yep. Yeah. Kishirika, you know, she's involved. Anyway, alongside Cliff is Norn. Norn arrives. She's looking after Ruijerd. After he looked after her when she was younger. It's cute stuff.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Lucy Pog. I don't know how it works, but like I'm like Lucy. I think Lucy's great now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I guess for context here, so basically Lucy is Rudy is always leaving the house. You know, everyone has a lot of stuff going on. Lucy is often, you know, she's a little bit lonely. So Norn always is. She's decided that she's going to spend time with Lucy all the time, and it's very cute. And so she is so dedicated to, you know, helping out Lucy and being a good, or looking after her and everything, that when she hears the news about Ruijerd, and having to go help him, I think she hears from Cliff when Cliff is at their house, she immediately is like, she really wants to go, but then she looks at Lucy and sees the uncertainty on her face, and she decides, you know what, I'm going to stay here. And yep.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
But then Lucy's like, no, you need to go. You have the same face as Rudy, which I think is such an amazing point because you never really think they're the same. But then his like, yes, they are family. You know, you often just think, oh, Rudy's not like his sisters in any way because, you know, he's reincarnated. But here's like one of those things where no, they're the same, which is great.
Yep. Cool, small Norn point of view chapter. Which all the Norn point of view chapters, they're all great. We love Norn so much.
Yeah, this one was particularly great though.
Yep.
Much better than the other Norn point of view chapter,
of course,
which wasn't so great that you just mentioned.
Very true. Just a small detail again in the Superb Village. It's something that I really liked, which is firstly, Cliff thinks he has a cure, and he's like, does anyone want to take the cure? He's like yelling out to people, and no one is going to take it. But then Rudyard is like, I trust Rudius, and I trust this man that Rudius brought, and I'll take it. And then one by one, everyone's like, well, I mean, I trust Rudyard.
I'm Spartacus.
I am Spartacus. It's to me, it's so good because obviously we don't quite know what has passed in this village since Rudyard's arrival, but Rudyard has this whole time, he has blamed himself for what happened to the Superb. It's his fault. The reputation is so terrible. He killed his entire village. He led these Superbs down the path that they're currently in. And just to see how much they trust and value him now, that they're all willing to take this medicine that might kill them, but they're willing to stand by Rudyard's decision. I think it's very cute. Yep, it's great. Anyway, so Bacon, now we're getting right to the end here. Oh no, before that, another small, this is so cool, Bacon. Orsted, he's hitting the balls back at the Superb kids. They keep throwing balls at him, and he keeps deflecting them back with minimal movements, and oh god, it's just so funny.
Yeah, it's like that game that they were playing in Villain Saga Season 2 when Canute and his older brother were like hitting the thing back and forth. That's what I was thinking of.
Yep. What a fun scene. You know, Orsted, he loves kids. That's the way he's been characterized at this point. Cute.
How do you make an evil man, evil seeming man? How do you know that he's good?
He deflects the soccer ball.
He's nice to kids.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. So now Rudius, he goes to the Bioral Kingdom, and he convinces I think the king or like some important person to send some people with him so that he can show them how the Superb Village isn't a threat and they're just like the rest of us. They're just normal people. And he ends up taking...
I thought this was cool because he's like, I only have 15 minutes each slots, which I thought was... it was an interesting situation. And it was this... Oh, no, it's the Dragon Realm that was like a complete meritocracy, which I thought was interesting. And like all their like battle tactics were like different to like Azuran ones, and these guys' battle tactics were probably better than the Azuran one. There's so many things. Sorry, that's because I didn't make notes. Sorry,
that's okay.
It's my bad.
Yeah, because they had this whole training thing.
I'm just gonna read through.
Yeah, very true. Where they were talking about how in our training we have everyone take every position in our like mock battle so that we can see if anyone is like more capable in that position, and it's like this is how we found out that this one person would be really good, and it was really cool back in the King Dragon Kingdom.
And and I think I think what it does, it actually has some grounding. So like in rugby, like we have different positions in the back line, but you're kind of expected to know every position so that like because things go haywire when you play a game, like someone maybe had to make a tackles on the floor and not in the line. So we all just like, I normally played position number 12, but sometimes I may be asked to play position number 13 just for one round, for one go, basically. And so this is what that reminded me of, which is quite cool. So it not only does it help you find the best person for something, it allows you to, when that person dies or get injured or is incapacitated,
flexibility.
You can then cover for them. Yeah. Versatility.
Yes, that's a better word. Yep. So now he goes to the Bioral Kingdom. He has a 15-minute slot, and they're very punctual. And as soon as the 15 minutes are over, he's like, "Oh, you gotta get out of here." That was pretty funny. But yeah.
And so, Rudy also, he once again does his whole spiel of like, all that. Anyway,
so with Rudius attends Sandor and Galixon. Pretty cool names. Funny that we have a Sandor here
Oh,
though,
I
when
see.
the
So
other
this
guy
is
is
the
meant
guy
to be
also
Sandor.
called Sandor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't know why they like. I don't actually know what the original name was for both of these. If they were both the same thing in Japanese and they just translated one differently, or if they were different. And it's just so strange to me that there is a Sandor here when the other guy was meant to be Sandor. Like I don't know what's going on here with these translations, but
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And also, I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
because I looked up the translation thing for some of this. I'm pretty sure next volume they go back to calling Chandle Sandor, so it's gonna be even more confusing. But I'm sure you'll figure out what's going on. But
Okay.
pretty yeah. Anyway, so Sandor here. Yes, go ahead.
So actually, I wanted to say something about an interesting thing about
yeah, go ahead.
I didn't bring this up last time, but there's a funny joke in volume 20. No, yeah, volume 20, where, and it was brought up again here because it was like when they went to Nina's place, they had an excerpt from the guy, the bloody Kant.
We haven't mentioned him at all.
And there's a joke where basically like Rudius was like, and this must, I don't know what it is in the Japanese, but basically it's like it's like Rudy made a joke. It's like, yes, I heard it was described by someone like this. Oh yes, the scholar bloody Kant. Only a couple letters off an awful name or something like that. Like
Yes.
a very sad name. So anyway, I forgot to bring that up last time, but yeah, it's talking about names that kind of reminded me.
Yes.
One of those things where it's like, what's the translation for that? Do they have like a similar joke in the original?
Yeah, that is. I did actually think the same thing when I read that. Yeah. I mean, it must be katakana. It was like Buradi Kanto or something, and it's like, oh, okay. I have no idea. Anyway. What a guy. Funny. He gets mentioned a bunch. We never really talked about him. Anyway. They go back to the Supered Village. And they interact with they're basically there. They're technically disguised, wearing those rings that Rudius wore at one point. The big thing is that they see Orsted and they kind of they're on guard. They're like, ooh, that guy's a dangerous guy.
You don't know who they are, right? But yeah. You kind of you don't know who they are yet, right?
No, not at all. So I think they do this very well. It's very convincing. Like I didn't know that there were other people until later on when it gets revealed.
I mean, I was like, the only time I got a sneaking suspicion was when Doha doesn't return with Rudy. Like, I guess someone who's new to this, and I knew they're around somewhere. I was like, they introduced this thing that you could disguise as someone. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting, yeah. But Rudy's like not put it back on, right? That's the thing. Or did he put the disguise back on after talking to Rigid?
I don't remember.
Like, I think, yeah. Anyway. So they see Orsted. Orsted doesn't really know what's up, but
yeah, Orsted. My vision of Orsted is that he notices them and then he looks away. But maybe they describe that, and maybe that's why I have that vision. But it's kind of like he doesn't want to scare them or something. But
yeah.
Yep. It is funny. In retrospect, it is funny to think about the North God and the Sword God see Orsted for the first time here, or I guess in a long time. And they're they're like, oh shit. What is this guy doing here in this village? Oh my goodness. And they're scared by his curse and everything. And it's
also cool because Kalman's asking him, it's like, oh, what's your stuff? And then the North God, the Sword God Galfarian is just like, it's funny to recontextualize why they act how they act, right?
Yeah.
It's like, and then it's like Kalman's like, oh, how many guys can you take down there or whatever? And Rudy, and this is why I think Rudy's like I could only take a few. And that's probably true, but we know Rudy could probably do more. This is the person who just destroyed.
He underestimates himself all the time.
Yeah, right. Classic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love how it works. He's like, classic Rudy. Now you can probably take more, right? Mm-hmm. And the guy's like, oh, that's how I wish he said he could, right? And you would think that both these guys wouldn't underplay their hand. Maybe Galfarian would, but there's no way that Kalman the third would be like, yeah, I could only take one of those guys down. No, this is the guy that'd be like, yeah, I could take down I could easily take down anything I want to, right? So
he wanted to fight that behemoth from the Bigarret continent.
Exactly.
Yep. So they're crossing the bridge, and then we get the reveal. So firstly, I love the way that they reveal it, which is that they're like, I was so worried back then when I saw Cliff Grimoire and his eye of identification. I thought he was going to identify us. Yeah, thank God I was wearing my gloves or whatever. And I was like, this is so great. True, Cliff would have identified them. He's the genius. He would have figured it out. But no, he doesn't. And yep, crazy. North God, Kalman III, and the Sword God.
This reminded me very much of Attack on Titan. I guess Attack on Titan spoilers for season 2.
Season 2.
I'm the Armored Titan and he's the Colossal Titan. That's what this reminded me of.
Very true.
And and they're on a bridge too, which is like high up or whatever.
Yep.
It's like Nani, and it's like, of course, Rudy like takes way too long to put it together. I
Yep.
think I love it's like what, because Geese would have known this is what got Rudy in trouble probably. Like this is Rudy's issue, like that his defense is super low and he can't let his guard down.
Yep.
It was interesting to think like this is such like an easy trap for Rudy to get into, like false sense of security.
Yep.
Even though Chandle was like, don't ever go by himself. Like Rudy even thinks this. He's like, no, it's fine. I can take these two guys. And it's like, nope, no, you cannot.
Yep.
You'd be lucky to take one of them, right?
Yeah. Jesus. Number very high. You know, we got these 7 great powers that are around him right now. Pretty crazy.
Yeah. And what else? I think it's interesting so they cut off his arms like straight away. He's unable to do anything.
That is pretty crazy.
And he just falls to death, right? I was trying to think, how does he come back for this? And I was thinking, so either like Rujd knows something up because Rujd's met Galfarian before, and he's like, that's not Galfarian. Or what I do suspect, what I hope is that we don't get a Rudy perspective for a while. This is kind of what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping like maybe like all of Volume 25 we don't get any Rudy. I think that'd be kind of cool. Just to see everybody be like, oh, what's happening? Maybe that would I mean, I can see either. I kind of hope we have a little bit of a Rudy drought. Maybe I think it'd be cool either way. I can see it happening either way.
Yep.
But I do think I feel like Rudy, for some reason, I feel like he still got those King tier healing spells that like he was given way, way, way back in his pocket. I guess I don't know how he like channel mana through stumps or something, but you know what I mean? Like I remember it healing. Who did it heal?
I actually don't.
Did it heal him?
I remember in the Azura Kingdom
fighting Allbear.
Yeah,
Allbear.
I think it didn't attach. It like attached a limb that was like almost off or something. Didn't it? Like I don't think it's ever like for instance when Rudy lost his hand in the Hydra fight, it was Orsted who healed him, right?
Yes.
So I don't think we've ever seen a limb grow back, but maybe he used like a scroll back then to heal him. I don't quite remember. So I guess we'll have to see what happens here with these limbs. But
anyway, it's not the first time Rudy's lost many limbs. But I think I feel like Orsted gave him a couple of those scrolls. I'm not sure if he used all of them, but like I know like it was more than one. From what I remember. So I was like, I was wondering what's happening. But yeah,
I guess we'll see. Anyway. The difference here is that his both arms are cut off, and he just can't use magic now, which is insane. Because the magician's mana flows through their arms apparently. Yep.
I think he can find a way around it. That sounds a bit too like for this world, anything can be done with magic, and if he can cast it without his voice, I feel like given enough thought time, Rudy could find a way to pour his mana through his like feet or something.
I love this.
But did they cut off? Did they cut off his legs as well?
No, just his arms. Because a magician's magic is only through their arms, Bacon. Okay, it's a rule in this world, I'm sure. I guess we'll see.
I think it's an assumption, but like I feel like I feel like dude, if Rudy actually dies, that would be crazy, but I don't think it's right. And so story conventions say he's got to find a way. I just hope that he stays a bit dead for maybe longer, or like he spends more time, or I don't know. There's so many cool things you could do. The reason why I say I want to see without Rudy because I want to see other people's perspectives and how they deal with it.
Yes. Like
I want to see more. I want to see a Sylphie perspective. I thought that was crazy when the Ogre turned up. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves a bit, but when the Ogre, that was another sinking feeling. I was like, oh my word, you've actually crippled their base of operations. That's crazy.
Yep, all the teleporters
are
gone.
Anxiety inducing, like, It was the first time in a long time where I'm like, oh wow, they're actually powerless. In a way, like there's nothing they can do. Like even Orsted like can't overcome this easily. So I have a feeling maybe Perugius would notice something's up. Maybe that could be.
Zainoba tries to call him, but he's too far away, so there's no calling Perugius.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, that's a great point. But I feel like they didn't have something directly into the Perugius's thing, right?
Well, they had not to be teleported there, if that's what you mean. I think Zainoba had the whistle that would, or not the whistle, whatever it is, the thing that would summon Perugius. Yeah, but at the end of this, he's like, are there any monuments of the 7 great powers? And he's trying to find something, obviously, but we don't.
There was one, wasn't there? There was one in the Strife Zone, wasn't there? But there wasn't one. I don't think they found one. No, they found one at the middle of the village. So that's probably what they're going to do. Zenobia's going to get to the middle of the village and then call Perugius. That's probably what's going to happen. Because that was made a note of earlier, that like there was a monument there. Trying to make predictions on the fly. Here we go. Yeah. But anyway, we've kind of glossed over a few things, but the ogre god, I assume, turns up, right? Is that the ogre god that just destroys everything?
Ogre god Malta, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, that's really where my notes end. We've already talked about like Roxy and Eris. They're working together.
Yeah. That was really good. I like how you brought up Zenobia again. I don't think there's anybody else we've not thought of.
Yeah. The final stuff is like, I think Zainob is like, he's like, everyone is converging on this, the Superb Village, and it's like, oh, we're getting climactic here, you know, we're getting the final few volumes here. Yep. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. Okay. So final predictions for me.
Yeah.
Because I know Ari's got to go soon. So how's this going to go? I've already kind of talked about where I think Rudy's is going to go. I hope we get, my hopes is that we get a little bit of Sophie at least, but I have a feeling that we probably won't. I do wonder what's going on there, because it is said that she'll protect the home. And I do think a Sophie fight versus the Ogre God could be like a good a good cold open to this volume maybe. But she's stuck, right? I assume she hasn't teleported back yet, so that may be a while. And she'd probably be one of the slowest ones to move back. Right. You mentioned Ghislaine's coming. So Ghislaine's going to turn up somehow. Well, she's going to appear because she needs a picture of her in the golden armor. What else? I think Chandle's going to... Chandle's...
Don't invest too much in that. You'll see what I mean eventually, but that you don't doesn't necessarily mean that she's...
Oh yeah, she's gonna turn up in a coffin. Okay, cheers, Ari.
Maybe.
So I'd also say that Chandle's gonna be stronger than he thinks. He is than he's shown so far. I think that'd be cool. Rigid's not at full strength. I think that's pretty key.
Yeah, it's scary.
Could Rigid? How long could he last against? Because Rigid is strong, but I don't know. How strong? I feel like Rigid's not I assume Eris is stronger. I think Eris versus Galfarian's definitely happening. Now I think about it, that's going to definitely happen. Who's going to fight? I guess something like that. I don't know. Maybe Eris and Rigid have to take on Galfarian. That'd be kind of cool. Chandle's going to be OP, and with Dog Boy is going to take down other dude. I mean, Orsted is there, so that's kind of big, but we don't want him to use up too much mana, right? Fighting these two guys is a big deal.
Yeah.
Geese has got to turn up somewhere, and then we got also Badigadi turning up late game.
Right.
So I feel like the Badigadi thing could be... I find it unlikely given his characterization so far, but I feel like he may not be undefeatable, but he may change sides again or something. Maybe that would happen.
Interesting.
Something like that. All right. Well, that's about it for me.
Well, let me think. Yeah. What else do we have to say? Bacon, next time we're done, we're gonna have consumed the entirety of the Mushoku Tensei story. What a wild thing, Bacon. Yeah, I'm excited.
Is Nanahoshi going to go away? You know, she's going to get back home, all this stuff. So
there's a lot of stuff.
There's other stuff.
See what happens.
Yeah.
But you want to look at the next volume cover, Bacon, to see what you think? It's a great tradition these days now.
Yes, Ari. And next time, should I also bring a tier list?
Oh yes, we'll talk about this offline. But we'll do something like that. Definitely.
Maybe I also record a tier list for this as well.
That would be great.
Yeah. Okay, hold up.
Volume 25.
Volume 25. Is that Cliff in the middle? Hold up. So we've got...
Oh, is it?
Rigid's back in action. You've got Eris. Oh no, is that Albert? Who's the guy with the golden sword? Okay, it's kind of spoiled that Rudy's getting his arms back. Jeez. And then you've got Chanda. Yeah, Galfarian's got the scars. He's cool. Who's the guy in the middle? Is that looks too cool
process of elimination. Who can you think of?
Well, it must be Kalman, but that looks too cool to be Kalman. He looks young enough to be Kalman. Who's it? No, it's not Cliff because he's not got the eye patch. Must be Kalman. He's got the gold. Why has he got a gold sword? Did he have a gold sword before?
What an interesting thing, Bacon.
Dude, I'll flip the page and it'll tell me all their names straight away.
That is true.
Should I flip the page?
I don't know.
I'm not going to look at the spoiler page. Okay, it's someone who I don't even know. All right, I don't even know who these guys. Oh no! Sorry, all their names are Alexander. There you go.
Crazy.
Shinobu's here. Galfarian. Marta's also there. Okay, cool. I'm going to try my best not to look at the... I kind of looked at it as a spoil, but...
Don't look.
Okay. How do I go next page?
Oh boy.
It's such an obvious, like, it was so big, I couldn't not look at it. Oh my word. I kind of actually wish I didn't know. Yeah, I'm sad that I know that Rudy's got his arms back. I mean, it's obvious, but
I mean,
you need
yeah,
him.
we'll have to see.
We'll have to see how he does it. But he
Anyway,
does it in this
yep.
chapter. My whole idea goes, I'm not even read the chapter titles. I'm on the chapters. It's all in shatters, people.
Well, isn't that great,
Anyway,
Bacon?
cool. There we go.
Well,
and now, do you love your country like Miller?
I am very glad that the Look Back movie is coming to Australia, everyone. We just found out. It's amazing.
Happy days.
Yep.
Yeah.
But
cool.
This is it. See you next time for the ending of Mushoku Tensei, or at least the main series, besides all the side stories, which I'm very excited to get to. Volumes 25 and 26. Yep. See you next time.
Bye.